Hello, welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. 7N. Chapter 121. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 122 Nagato. Shivering and cold, 4 more kneels for subscription. After Hoshigaki Kisame, Deidara, and Sasori surrendered, Akatsuki's so-called Konoha tailed beast plundering plan also declared a complete failure. While countless Konoha village ninjas were surprised at Akatsuki's overwhelming ability, their hearts were filled with worship for 5th Hokage. Too strong. Really too strong, if not for 5th Hokage. Perhaps Konoha village was destroyed by Akatsuki, and the village was destroyed. So in this situation, the cohesion and self-confidence of the civilians and ninjas of Konoha village has once again risen a level, and the entire Konoha village has quickly recovered. Development is on the right track. Of course, with the surrender of Hoshigaki Kisame, Deidara, Sasori, the high levels of Konoha village also knew the true strength of Akatsuki, which has been developing wretchedly, and the ultimate goal of Akatsuki organization. Especially after knowing that Akatsuki would use the tail beast weapon to conquer the world, people such as Tsunade, Jiraiya, Uchiha Fugaku, Hyuga Hiyashi, etc. all took a breath of air and showed a look of extreme astonishment. Obviously I didn't think of it. The Akatsuki organization, which has never been taken seriously by the 5 ninja villages, has such a big wolf ambition. This time if 5th Hokage weren't strong enough, the Akatsuki organization had fallen into the sand in Konoha village. With the strength of Akatsuki organization alone, it would definitely be able to endure the whole. The world has set off a bloody storm. Konoha village. In the central area of the Hokage building, in a meeting room on the top floor, Deidara, did you say that Akatsuki is already planning to collect the tail beasts? Tsunade put his hands on the table and asked a little solemnly. Advertisement. That's right. Deidara's expression was a bit bitter, saying, this time Akatsuki made a shot at Konoha village for 3 tails, 5 tails, and 8 tails. Hoshigaki Kisame shook his head helplessly and sighed, but he didn't expect that we would fall short. The Akatsuki organization now exists in name only. Sasori said hoarsely, only Nagato and Konan were left. Deidara thought for a while, then added, Nagato owns Rinnegan, and Konan is good at special ninjutsu-style paper dance. Rinnegan. Upon hearing these words, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Uchiha Fugaku, Hyuga Hiyashi and others suddenly became serious. After all, this is the eyes of Sage of 6 Paths. Perhaps if it hadn't been for Lord 5th Hokage, this time Konoha village would have been destroyed. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. All right. At this time, Uchiha Ryujin, who hadn't spoken all the time, ordered nothing. We merged Rain Shinobi village first, then collected the tail beasts, and walked along the path of the Akatsuki organization, leaving Akatsuki with nowhere to go. In fact, for all the circumstances of Akatsuki, Uchiha Ryujin knows everything very well, and now I just let Tsunade and others know about it. No problem. Yes, we will merge Rain Shinobi village first. Akatsuki dared to take the lead in attacking us, we have to pay an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Advertisement. Before the words finished, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Uchiha Fugaku, Hyuga Hiyashi and others had a cold eye and nodded indiscriminately. As for Deidara, Hoshigaki Kisame, and Sasori, they can only show a bitter expression. After all, they took it all. The next day, Konoha village announced a piece of news. Once again, the ninja world, which is not very peaceful, once again set off a stormy sea. As for the content of the message, it is amazing that Akatsuki implemented the Konoha village tail beast plundering plan on Konoha village. The final result is that Tiandao Pain was destroyed by 5th Hokage, Hidan, Kakuzu, Uchiha Itachi, Loquat Juzo were killed, Hoshigaki Kisame, Sasori, Deidara surrender and admit defeat. As soon as the news came out, the entire ninja world exploded in an instant. No way. The Akatsuki organization has always been in the ninja world, and everyone does not know the specific strength of the Akatsuki organization. Result. If you don't make a move, it's amazing as soon as you make a move. The Akatsuki organization has secretly networked so many S-level rebels. If this suddenly acts on a certain Shinobu village, except Konoha village, no matter which Shinobu village it is, it will suffer. Seeking Flowers 0. The only good news may be that the seemingly awesome Akatsuki organization suffered a devastating blow in Konoha village, deadly death, and surrender. However, this is just the beginning. After announcing that the Akatsuki organization was defeated by Konoha village also announced the purpose of establishing the Akatsuki organization. Akatsuki wanted to use the tail beast weapon to conquer the world. In an instant. Advertisement. The ninja world shook once again. As a result, all major Shinobu villages began to secretly collect information on Akatsuki's organization. Rain Shinobi village in Rain country. Within one of the tallest towers in the central area, Accompanied by a terrifying aura fluctuating, Akatsuki's leader, Rinnegan of Nagato, suddenly showed shocking pupil power. Anger. Extreme anger. Nagato never thought of it. This time, the Konoha-tailed beast plundering plan would have failed so thoroughly. The members of Akatsuki's organization were either killed or beaten to surrender, leaving Nagato's heart dripping with blood. To know. For the development of Akatsuki, he devoted all his efforts to the development of the organization. Now that a mission failed, Akatsuki directly returned to the prototype. More importantly, Konoha village also exposed the Akatsuki organization to the eyes of countless people in the ninja world, and made public the purpose of Akatsuki organization's establishment. This is undoubtedly hitting Nagato in the face, tearing down Nagato's stage, cutting off Nagato's back path. Time. Nagato is trembling and cold. He doesn't know when Akatsuki will stand up again, he doesn't know when his dream will come true, he doesn't know how to cross the mountain of 5th Hokage. Alas. Seeing this scene, Konan, who was standing not far away, couldn't help sighing. She doesn't know what to say. This failure of the Shao organization has already burned the strength that Shao organization has accumulated over the years. 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin, after all, became a lingering nightmare for Akatsuki. Chapter 122. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 123 Shao Organization, a bag of rice resists several floors, one more kneels for subscription. Waste stuff. Shit. Suddenly, when Nagato was trembling and unable to extricate himself, Uchiha Obito, wearing a mask, appeared along with a spiral of spatial fluctuations. Humph. When I saw Uchiha Obito, Nagato snorted coldly. Because of inconvenience, he could only sit on the spot and yelled coldly, "Do you still know that he appeared? If I don't show up again, Akatsuki will be defeated by you." Masked man Uchiha Obito said a little sarcastically. What are you talking about? Nagato, who was initially in anger, had a cold face, and violently looked at Rinnegan at Uchiha Obito, bursting out a palpitating pupil shock wave. Ha ha. 600 faces Rinnegan's pupil power. Masked man Uchiha Obito shook his head calmly, and said plainly, now that the Akatsuki organization has been exposed to ninja's vision, the members are either killed or beaten to surrender. What else can you do? Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Nagato gave a crazy laugh. I have nothing to do with arrogance, but I still have Rinnegan, and everything can start all over again. Start all over again. Masked man Uchiha Obito sneered, sarcastically, Nagato, you really. Advertisement. Is too naive. Do you think Konoha Village's 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin will give you the chance to start all over again? After hearing these words, Nagato was silent for a moment. He wanted to refute the masked man, but he didn't even have the confidence to refute himself. It is true that after the birth of 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin, he is invincible. He just doesn't believe in evil and thinks that Rinnegan is very powerful, so he made the Konoha-tailed beast plunder plan. As a result, Akatsuki was beaten back to the prototype by 5th Hokage. What are you trying to say? Soon, after pondering for a moment, Nagato narrowed his eyes and took a deep breath, suppressing the suffocation in his heart, saying, I and you are only a cooperative relationship, even if the Akatsuki organization is destroyed by the group, it will not be possible. You point fingers at me, understand? Got it. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Looking at Nagato as he calmed down, the masked man Uchiha Obito said indifferently, something has happened, now let's make a follow-up development plan for Akatsuki. Can. Nagato hesitated, but nodded reluctantly. He knows very well that things have developed to the present. Masked man Uchiha Obito is still his best partner. Boom. But just when Nagato, the masked man Uchiha Obito, Konan was going to sit down and discuss countermeasures. Without any warning, a terrifying aura that seemed to make heaven and earth surrender came over Rain Shinobi Village with a thunderous speed. Not good. This momentum. Could it be? Advertisement. With time, the expressions of Nagato and the masked man Uchiha Obito changed. Even Konan, who realized in hindsight, had a little stiff expression. Because, if you didn't guess wrong, the owner of this momentum is definitely 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin. But, how could he be so fast? He has already been killed from Konoha Village to Rain Shinobi Village. Go. Let's go out. The next moment, the masked men Uchiha Obito and Nagato glanced at each other and flew away. Among them, Nagato also used Rinnegan's ability to float in the air due to the inconvenience of moving. And when Nagato and Uchiha Obito went out, they saw a scene that they will never forget. I saw 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin, who is a Hokage royal god robe, hovering like a god in the sky above Rain Shinobi Village, motionless, but the body burst out with a powerful aura that makes the soul tremble slightly. Akatsuki, a bag of rice resists a few floors, feel the pain, but the voice hasn't finished. Uchiha Ryujin's expressionless face once again increased his momentum and pressure, The terrifying conqueror's haki dominates Rain Shinobi Village like a thunder, almost in an instant, making the time and space of the entire Rain Shinobi Village. I was dumbfounded. Countless civilians and Rain Shinobi hadn't reacted yet, their eyes were staring, and the body froze in place. Click. This is the sound of air bursting and cracks in the house. Under the bombardment of horror, numerous buildings and air in Rain Shinobi Village, there are dense cracks visible to the naked eye. Based on. For a while, not only civilians, but even some Jonin couldn't resist this aura of coercion. They only felt that there was a roar in their minds, and the front of them became blank. Advertisement. Puff puff puff. After a few seconds, countless unconscious civilians and Rain Shinobi began to fall in pieces. And Uchiha Ryujin in midair is still light and breezy, and there is no expression fluctuation from beginning to end. It seems to suppress Rain Shinobi Village, which is just a trivial matter. After a while, Conqueror's haki has gradually disappeared, but the entire Rain Shinobi Village is already a mess. And the dark clouds over Rain Shinobi Village that have not disappeared for many years have been shattered by the momentum, revealing the long-lost sunshine. Rain Shinobi Village was also destroyed. 3.3 The basics for Akatsuki to settle down and stand for life are basically gone. Above the high tower in the central area, Nagato watched Rain Shinobi Village being destroyed by Uchiha Ryujin, and his whole person was just as irritated, showing a depressed expression. Complete. It's really over. He didn't think about it. 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin must report such a flaw. He wants Konoha Village to feel the pain, and 5th Hokage makes Rain Shinobi Village feel the pain if he disagrees. Isn't it just slaps and satirize him? And this feeling led Nagato's heart a rare sense of weakness and stubbornness. Chapter 123. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 124 The Truth. Second more kneeling for subscription. Is this guy already so powerful? What a terrifying aura. Next to him, Uchiha Obito, who is in the same mood as Nagato, looks very ugly. Especially after watching Uchiha Ryujin crush Rain Shinobi Village like a ruin, Uchiha Obito's scalp numb for a while. No way. He didn't think about it. 5th Hokage will do things so resolutely and vigorously. The front foot Akatsuki organization only shot Konoha Village, and the back foot 5th Hokage came to Rain Shinobi Village to find a place. This is so much a chance to not give them a breather. It's over. As for the Akatsuki's Konan, cold sweat spilled on his forehead unknowingly. He was standing trembling on the tower, his face was already pale. Especially seeing Rain Shinobi Village being devastated under the aura of 5th Hokage, after years of hard work of Rain Shinobi Village, her heart is extremely painful. But 23 is the leader of Akatsuki. Nagato, who was not far away, quickly recovered. After taking a deep breath, Rinnegan's pupils surged, and his body rose from the tower, facing Uchiha Ryujin in the air. 5th Hokage. The next moment, the sound of gritted teeth came from Nagato's mouth, and the pair of deep Rinnegan was full of undisguised killing intent. Advertisement. Ha ha. Uchiha Ryujin's mouth curled up slightly and said in a low voice, since your Akatsuki organization dared to do something to Konoha Village, it must be prepared to meet my anger. Yes. After deciding to merge Rain Shinobi Village, Uchiha Ryujin left Konoha Village as quickly as possible and headed towards Rain Shinobi Village. Now it seems that the time is just right. After suppressing Rain Shinobi Village with Conqueror's haki, I also met Nagato, Uchiha Obito and Konan all at once. Good. It's really good. Nagato laughed furiously and snarled coldly, then I will let you know the real horror of Rinnegan. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Along with Rinnegan's violent pupil power fluctuations, the 5 figures flew out from the tower and landed on the tower's platform. Yes. This is impressively the 6 ways of pain. Because Tiandao pen made with Yahiko's corpse has been blown up, Nagato recreated Tiandao pen with another corpse. Can't you be a little new? Looking at the 6 ways of pain appearing on the high tower platform, Uchiha Ryujin said with disdain, Rinnegan is really buried in your hands. Advertisement. Did you say that? Crane tail Uchiha Obito. After saying this, Uchiha Ryujin raised his brows and looked at Uchiha Obito, who had been silent and wearing a mask. Hearing that the topic suddenly came to him, Uchiha Obito murmured, 5th Hokage, I don't know what you are talking about, and I don't know who Uchiha Obito is. During the night of Uchiha Annihilation, I told you not to pretend. Didn't you expect you to pretend to be Uchiha Madara really addicted to it? Uchiha Ryujin looked at Uchiha Obito helplessly, and said in a deep voice, don't you know that a pheasant can't fly on a branch and become a phoenix? The tail of a crane is always the tail of a crane, even if it's blackened, even if it's wearing a mask the tail of the crane. Enough boom. I haven't finished speaking yet. The unbearable mask man Uchiha Obito can't suppress his inner anger. It's too deceiving. It's really deceiving too much. Every word and deed of Uchiha Ryujin is to sprinkle salt on his wounds. It's 2FCK, damn it. Are you angry? Uchiha Ryujin didn't panic at all, and said in a shocking voice, Uchiha Obito, do you know how Rin Nohara died? It was designed by Uchiha Madara, Black Zetsu, and White Zetsu. You were just a chess piece from beginning to end. What are you talking nonsense? Hearing the name Lin Yi Yuan. The masked man Uchiha Obito's emotions became agitated, and he said coldly. I saw Lin voluntarily choose to die under Reikiri in Kakashi. Am I wrong? Sometimes what the eyes see may not be true, but what others want you to see. Uchiha Ryujin glanced at the masked man Uchiha Obito with an idiotic look, and said slowly, in order to force you to give up, Nohara Lin's heart was spelled by Uchiha Madara, and 3 tails were transplanted into the body, and then there was Nohara Lin. The scene of voluntarily dying under Kakashi Reikiri. Single quote. These things, if you think about it for a moment, you'll know, but. You, a mentally handicapped thing, but you still believe it to be true. Single quote. Advertisement. After this sentence, the masked man Uchiha Obito's mind was shocked, and he stood still on the spot in a daze. How can it be? Is it true that Lin Nohara was killed by Uchiha Madara? Then he also inherited Uchiha Madara's legacy. Isn't he admitting the thief is the father and helping the gang be abused? 910 For a time, Uchiha Obito's heart was in entanglement and confusion. You know, after witnessing Nohara Lin being killed by Kakashi, he realized the cruelty of ninja war. Since then, he has fallen into the dark and recognized Madara's thoughts, and wants to use Ten Tails chakra to launch a giant illusion infinite Tsukuyomi on the entire world, creating an ideal world without war and peace forever, a world with Lin. The result, Uchiha Ryujin told him that everything was fake, which undoubtedly made Uchiha Obito unacceptable. Uchiha Obito, isn't he Uchiha Madara? And listening to the conversation between the two, Nagato in midair and Konoha on the tower were a little confused. When the masked man cooperated with the Akatsuki organization, he always claimed to be Uchiha Madara. Now it seems that Uchiha Obito may be his true identity. By the way, Black Zetsu and White Zetsu come out too. Seeing that Uchiha Obito can't accept the truth that he is a pawn, Zebo Ryujin's mouth curled up slightly, and he said in a meaningful way, Black Zetsu, others don't know your identity, but I know your identity. Chapter 124. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 125 Ninja World Melaleuca Cake, Creepy, 3 watches guiding for subscription. Shit. After this sentence, the merged White Zetsu and Black Zetsu emerged from the ground. Among them, White Zetsu is okay. Although there are some surprises Uchiha Ryujin knew so many secrets, but did not reveal it, but Black Zetsu's heart was set off by a huge wave, which could not be calmed down at all. Joke. Uchiha Ryujin actually knew his true identity. Doesn't that mean that all his layouts are in the hands of Uchiha Ryujin? Thinking carefully, I'm terrified. In an instant, Black Zetsu felt a little creepy and his scalp was numb. Because he always thought he was standing on the 100th floor, looking down at Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Obito, Nagato and others, secretly controlling the lightning and laying out everything. But, it seems that Uchiha Ryujin is already on the 200th floor. It's finally out. Looking at the Black Zetsu and White Zetsu being integrated, Uchiha Ryujin said lightly, you can tell Uchiha Obito the truth and let him completely give up. This. White Zetsu and Black Zetsu were shocked. Uchiha Ryujin, what are you talking about? In the next moment, White Zetsu seemed to react, and said sternly, we don't know what you are talking about, don't confuse the crowd. Single quote. Black Zetsu, you say. Advertisement. Uchiha Ryujin didn't panic at all, he turned his gaze to Black Zetsu, threatening, I hope your answer satisfies me, otherwise, the consequences will be very serious. In an instant, Black Zetsu really wanted to cry, he was not a fool. Of course you can hear Uchiha Ryujin's illocutionary threat. If he doesn't cooperate well, then Uchiha Ryujin is definitely going to tell his secrets, which will cause some pain. At least, before Ten Tails was resurrected. Black Zetsu does not want to reveal his identity as the third son of Otsutsuki Kagaya. Uchiha Obito, 5th Hokage are talking about fact spoons. After a few seconds, Black Zetsu took a deep breath and said in a straightforward manner that you are just a substitute chosen by Uchiha Madara. Rin Nohara is also designed by Uchiha Madara killed, you are just a pawn from start to finish. Black Zetsu, what are you talking about? White Zetsu was shocked in his heart. Apart from the mood swings, some of them were unacceptable, and shut up. Black Zetsu hummed coldly. The voice did not fall. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. After a peculiar chakra fluctuation, Black Zetsu's body was directly separated from White Zetsu, becoming 2 separate individuals, one black and one white. Looking at Black Zetsu who was separated from him, White Zetsu seemed to perceive something, and was shocked in his heart, but wisely did not say much. Is this really the case? After listening to Black Zetsu's words, Uchiha Obito clenched his fists tightly together, and his cheeks under the mask were already a little distorted while his heart was cold. Why? Why is the truth like this? Inadvertently, his beliefs have collapsed. If everything is Uchiha Madara's calculations, so what is he? Is it really just a pawn? What is the so-called Project Tsuki no Mi? Advertisement. No, even if I am a pawn, I will resurrect Nohara-Lin and create a ninja world without war. After a turmoil of thoughts, Uchiha Obito completely threw away the distracting thoughts in his heart, and his eyes became firm again. He lives for himself, lives for Lin Nohara. Uchiha Madara treats him as a chess piece. Why is he using Uchiha Madara? Who will kill him? Don't you know? Fifth Hokage, why did you tell me this? The next moment, Uchiha Obito, who adjusted his mentality, looked straight at Uchiha Ryujin, and asked in a cold voice. Just to make you understand a little bit alive. After hearing these words, Uchiha Ryujin thought about it for a while, and then said in a sensible way, letting you and Nagato know that you are just a chess piece in Uchiha Madara's hands. Of course, Uchiha Ryujin didn't say one more thing. That is, Uchiha Madara is just a pawn in the hands of Black Zetsu. Humph. Uchiha Obito snorted coldly. Fifth Hokage, you said that I am also the pawn in Uchiha Madara's hands. At this time, Nagato seems to have also reacted, and said in disbelief that I and Uchiha Madara are just a cooperative relationship. Single quote. Partnership. Uchiha Ryujin disdainfully said, your Rinnegan is Uchiha Madara's. What is it for a long time? Nagato was confused all at once. Isn't his Rinnegan his own? Why did he become Uchiha Madara's again? If it was really like that, Nagato shuddered suddenly when thinking of some weird things that happened when he was a child. Why is this? And hearing so many misings. Advertisement. Conan, who hadn't spoken all the time, unknowingly showed a cold sweat, especially when he thought of Akatsuki's everything, under the control of others, he couldn't help his scalp tingling. Okay, it's time to do it. Seeing that both Nagato and Uchiha Obito were almost hit, Uchiha Ryujin's mouth appeared to be curved. What he wanted was such an effect. This time to Rain Shinobi Village, he will not only defeat Nagato and Uchiha Obito in strength, but also beat Nagato and Uchiha Obito mentally. Don't you think you are in control of everything? It's just a laugh, good money. Huh. There was a sound of breaking through the air. Uchiha Ryujin's body disappeared in midair. Good. So fast. No, Uchiha Ryujin launched an attack. Perceiving Uchiha Ryujin's sudden disappearance, Uchiha Obito and Nagato looked surprised. Chakra quickly entered a state of battle while surging. Unfortunately, Nagato and Uchiha Obito are obviously a little worried. When Uchiha Ryujin appeared again, he was already standing behind Shiradao in the six paths of pain and struck out with a punch. Accompanied by a fluctuating white energy wave. The air burst instantly, and then the puppets of the Asura Dao exploded alive before they could react, turning them into countless fragments. Yield. Chapter 125. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 126 Planetary Devastation, 1 more kneels for subscription. Not good. Seeing that the puppet of Shiradao was blown up, Nagato's expression suddenly changed. Between the knots of his hands, Rinnegan's pupil power fluctuations erupted. Shinra Tianzhong. In the next moment, under the control of Nagato, Tiandao Pain released a shock wave of pound phosphorus at a very fast speed, trying to bounce Uchiha Ryujin away. Unfortunately, let God Pain down. The Shinra Tianzhong who could bounce everything hadn't got close to Uchiha Ryujin's body before he was crushed alive by a shocking force. How can it be? Seeing that my attack had no effect at all. Tiandao Pen's expression changed and he could only revoke the Shinluo Tianzhong. As his body retreated, it once again urged Rinnegan's pupil power, Super Shinra Tianzhong. Fog time. A more terrifying repulsive shock wave swept out. That terrifying power even caused cracks visible to the naked eye to appear in the air. Haha, it's useless. Uchiha Ryujin didn't panic at all. Between the shocking force and the surge of armament haki, he waved his fist again. After a few seconds of rumbling. Advertisement. A deafening roar resounded. 247 saw Uchiha Ryujin's fist hit the repulsive shock wave fiercely, bursting out an astonishing shock wave of energy collision. Immediately afterwards, under all eyes, that seemingly awesome Super Shinra Tianzhong. It only took a few seconds to be shocked alive. That's right. Seems to be blown up alive. Summoning technique. Amplifying Hellhound. Summoning technique. Yada Bird. Summoning technique. Bull. Maybe it's because Heavenly Dao Pain bought a little time. The beastly Dao's hands quickly formed a seal, and summoning quickly produced a hell dog, Yada Bird, and a giant rhino. He opened his mouth wide and pounced towards Uchiha Ryujin past. It's boring, I don't want to play anymore. Seeing 3 disgusting monsters with a stench all over, Uchiha Ryujin frowned, and when he clenched his fists, the air filled the air with a luminous white light visible to the naked eye, bringing the 3 monsters and leftovers directly in front of him. Pen's 5 ways are covered. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Air shock. The next moment, there was another low voice. The luminous white light burst out in vain with a huge shock wave, causing the space to tremble slightly, and finally it fiercely affected the remaining Pen Wudao. Hungry Kido saw this scene. Nagato's expression changed suddenly, gritted his teeth, and hurriedly controlled the hungry Kido in front, trying to absorb the shock wave. But, the ideal is full, but the reality is very skinny. Hungry Kido may be able to absorb some chakra and ninjutsu, but faced with the terrifying shocking power, he didn't hold on for a second and was shattered alive. Boom. Accompanied by the sound of 7 consecutive things being exploded. Advertisement. I saw hellhounds, yada birds, giant rhino, heavenly path pain, human path, beast path, and hell path were all shattered in an instant. Quiet. There was a dead silence at the scene. It took less than a minute from Uchiha Ryujin's hands to Pen's 6 dots to be blown abruptly. Even Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, Konan did not react. How can it be? The 6 paths of pain were blown up without any counter arms. What a terrifying power is this? Soon, after reacting, Uchiha Obito, Heiji, White Zetsu, and Konan trembled fiercely in their hearts, and couldn't help making an uproar. Not a member of the Otsutsuki clan, how exactly did this Uchiha Ryujin cultivate? It is even more terrifying than Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara at the beginning, and I know, CDBB, so many ninja missions. Single quote. Among them, Black Zetsu's heart is undoubtedly the most complicated and the most puzzling. As the 3rd son of Otsutsuki Kagaya, he can clearly perceive that Uchiha Ryujin does not have the breath of Indra and Ashura on his body. In fact, on the night of genocide, Black Zetsu suspected that Uchiha Ryujin was a member of the Otsutsuki clan, but, after investigating, he discovered that Uchiha Ryujin is an ordinary native of the Uchiha clan. Puff. This is the voice of Nagato vomiting blood in midair. Maybe it's because the pupil power is too much. Nagato's Rinnegan has already begun to show wisps of blood and tears. Nagato, let's withdraw. At this time, seeing Nagato vomiting blood constantly, the masked man Uchiha Obito said with a heavy face, 5th Hokage is too strong, it is not something we can deal with now. Okay. Advertisement. After learning that he and Nagato are both pawns in the hands of Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Obito has a rare feeling of sympathy for Nagato. In a word, since everyone is a pawn, it should be a good team. No. This is Rain Shinobi Village, I can't retreat. Nagato glanced at Konan who was standing on the tower. A cold color flashed through Rinnegan, and his hands clasped together, which actually spurred Rinnegan's pupil power once. Does he mean it? Seeing this action of Nagato, Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, and White Zetsu all frowned subconsciously, because once this technique was performed, Rain Shinobi Village was basically finished. Ha 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 ha. In midair, Nagato didn't care so much anymore, he laughed madly, with an extremely ferocious look, roared, 5th Hokage, I'm a pawn. It is also the Shindo of my own choice. Now I will let you see the power that belongs to Rinnegan. Planetary Devastation. The pupil power of chakra and Rinnegan on Nagato's body began to surging crazily, and then a black bulrush sphere hovered over Rain Shinobi Village under the control of Nagato. The next room, without any signs. The black sphere floating above Rain Shinobi Village exploded with a gravitational force even more terrifying than universal pull, directly covering the entire Rain Shinobi Village. Boom. Faced with such a terrifying repulsion, Rain Shinobi Village began to tremble violently, making roaring and shaking sounds, and then, like an earthquake, a large number of buildings began to crack and the ground began to crumble. In the end, countless rocks began to rise into the air uncontrollably. Chapter 126. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 127 Breaking Up, Fleeing in Embarrassment, second more kneeling for subscription. Boom. The horrible gravity is constantly uploaded from Planetary Devastation. In less than a few minutes, a huge sphere made of rocks appeared in midair, exploding with a more terrifying attraction. Is this the power of the 6 realms? At this moment, perceiving the gravitational force acting on him, Uchiha Ryujin carefully sensed it before shook his head helplessly. Although Planetary Devastation contains a little bit of the power of the 6 paths, but it is really too little. Acting on him, it's almost like tickle, there is no use for eggs. To put it simply, Nagato's strength is insufficient, even if it is reluctant to urge Planetary Devastation, it is impossible to seal him. How can it be? And looking at Uchiha Ryujin floating motionless in midair, as if he hadn't been affected by Planetary Devastation, Nagato's cheek showed an extremely unbelievable look. To know, Is this planetary devastation? How to use it has no effect on Uchiha Ryujin at all. Alas, Nagato's strength is still too weak. Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, and White Zetsu sighed when they saw this, and shook their heads indiscriminately. What else can you say? Advertisement. It can only be said that 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin's strength is too abnormal, even if it is planetary devastation, 5th Hokage can't be helped. At the same time, in this case, looking at the huge sphere in midair, Uchiha Ryujin took a deep breath and moved his heart. Armament Haki, the shocking force, Sage Body's chakra quickly wrapped around his fist, and the clouds were lightly facing the midair. The planetary devastation bombarded with a punch. The next moment, in full view, Uchiha Ryujin's seemingly unremarkable fist suddenly exploded with a terrifying shock wave of fluorescent white energy, as if Mars hit the Earth, and hit the planetary devastation that looked like a giant meteorite. Boom! A deafening roar resounded. The seemingly indestructible planetary devastation suddenly appeared a series of cracks, and finally broke apart, turned into countless fragments, and scattered. Shocked. Extremely shocked. In an instant, read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Watching 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin's breezy punch, the planetary devastation exploded like a ruin. Whether it was Nagato, Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, I felt a tingling scalp, and my heart was panicking. Why is this happening? Soon, after seeing that his planetary devastation was blown up alive, there were already some Nagato who had run out of oil, and seemed to react. While horrified, he couldn't help but vomit a few more mouthfuls of blood. Have to go. The masked man Uchiha Obito's eyes already showed deep fear and jealousy. Obviously, facing the almost unmatched 5th Hokage, he has no courage to make a move. More importantly, advertisement. After being hit by Uchiha Ryujin one after another, he has a psychological shadow in his heart. As a result, Uchiha Obito secretly vowed inwardly that he would never do anything to 5th Hokage before he mastered absolute power. No, just relying on Uchiha Obito and Nagato, these two waste pawns, is not enough. At this time, a resolute color appeared in Black Zetsu's eyes, as if he had made a certain decision. Anyway, it has been revealed that Uchiha Obito and Nagato are Uchiha Madara's pawns, and Uchiha Madara's project Tasuki no Mi has also been exposed. Then you can only be forced to resurrect Uchiha Madara. Yes. It is to resurrect the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. For Black Zetsu, as long as Uchiha Madara is resurrected, then Project Tasuki no Mi may be able to proceed smoothly. As for whether 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin will expose his identity, Black Zetsu can't control that much anymore. In order to save his mother Otsutsuki Kagaya, he can only take one step, look one step, and count one step. And when I think of it, Black Zetsu is just a moment of aggrieved and uncomfortable. Originally, everything in the ninja world was under his control, and he was also enjoying the pleasure of controlling everything secretly. What happened? After Uchiha Ryujin turned out to be born, everything changed so much. Seeking flowers. Point 0. Is this the real god? Perceiving Uchiha Ryujin's near invincible power, Konan stood on the platform of the tower, his expression sluggish, and the whole person was a little dumbfounded. Okay. At this time, looking at the bombarded planetary devastation, and then perceiving the desperate aura permeating Nagato, Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, Konan, Uchiha Ryujin nodded with satisfaction. What he wanted was such an effect. Advertisement. And he just made a seemingly light punch, but it actually used all of his power. 0 go. The next moment, Uchiha Obito gritted his teeth and appeared next to Nagato in a flash. Before Nagato could even react, he sent Nagato and himself into the Kamui space. Laugh. A vortex-shaped spatial fluctuation is produced. Uchiha Obito and Nagato's bodies disappeared in place. Let's go. Run. Seeing Black Zetsu and White Zetsu, did not hesitate to sneak into the ground and disappeared. Why bother? Perceiving Uchiha Obito, Nagato fled in embarrassment. Uchiha Ryujin watched. The countless detonating charms around him shook his head helplessly. He was just thinking about making a move. As a result, Konan actually used the divine paper technique to spur a large number of detonating charms to surround him. As for the specific number, he is not very clear, but, even if it is not as exaggerated as the 600 billion detonating talisman in the original work, there are still 300 billion detonating talisman. Therefore, Uchiha Ryujin can only watch Nagato and Uchiha Obito enter the Kamui space. This may be my last little value. After hearing these words, Konan's face turned pale, and he said bitterly, Akatsuki has been completely finished. Rain Shinobi Village is also finished. You kill me. Chapter 127. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 128 Unification Rain Shinobi Village. This may be my last little value. After hearing these words, Konan's face turned pale, and he said bitterly, Akatsuki has been completely finished. Rain Shinobi Village is also finished. You kill me. Shit. After saying this, Konan moved his hands slightly. The countless detonating charms surrounding Uchiha Ryujin exploded indiscriminately after they dispersed in an instant. Boom. Accompanied by a deafening roar, hundreds of billions of detonating talisman explosions set off a terrifying energy shock wave, making the sky of Rain Shinobi Village tremble for several times. This prodigal girl. Looking at the detonating charms exploding around, the corners of Uchiha Ryujin's mouth twitched slightly. He did not expect Konan actually detonated all these detonating symbols at random like this. You know, the detonation talisman is very valuable in the ninja world. The act of detonating hundreds of billions of detonating charms like the rich woman Konan at one time is a purely prodigal act. But, thinking of Konan's ability and his position in Shao's organization, Uchiha Ryujin was relieved. He was willing to admit Konan was the richest woman in the ninja world. It's over. Advertisement. After detonating hundreds of billions of detonators, Konan stood on the stone platform of the high tower, looking down at the devastated Rain Shinobi Village, took out kunai, a light of relaxation appeared on her cheeks, she was finally liberated. But just when Konan was about to commit suicide, she just felt that her eyes flickered. Uchiha Ryujin had already appeared in front of her, and before she could react, she knocked out the kunai in her hand. You. Looking at the knocked out kunai, there was a puzzled look in Konan's eyes. It seems that I didn't understand why Uchiha Ryujin didn't kill her, but saved her. After Konoha Village unifies Rain Shinobi Village, a series of transformations will be carried out to Rain Shinobi Village, so you still have great use value. Uchiha Ryujin moved his body a bit, and explained quietly. Do not. Konan shook his head firmly, I wouldn't take refuge in Konoha Village. Ha ha. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Uchiha Ryujin didn't panic at all, but chuckled. If you don't cooperate, I will immediately slaughter the ninjas and civilians who were stunned in Rain Shinobi Village. You are a demon. The voice hasn't fallen yet. Konan trembled, his whole body trembling with anger, and an expression of pain filled his pretty face. She didn't expect that 5th Hokage would be so despicable and shameless, and used Rain Shinobi Village to threaten her and force her to submit. Humph. Looking at Konan in extreme pain, Uchiha Ryujin snorted coldly, without pity, and whispered, from now on, you will be a prisoner of Konoha Village. Single quote. Advertisement. Boom. Maybe I found myself powerless to resist. Konan struggled feebly, then slumped on the platform of the tower. One day later, Konoha's ninja troop arrived at Rain Shinobi Village. After seeing the tragedy of Rain Shinobi Village clearly, there were voices of inhaling air conditioning. No way. Rain Shinobi Village is really miserable. The high towers of the village were all destroyed, and the ground was full of ravines. At first glance, it was known that it had experienced an earth-shattering battle. Influenced by ninjas of countless Konoha shinobi troops. While showing horror on their faces, they all shouted in their hearts that Lord 5th Hokage was awesome. And the next thing is very simple. Especially with the cooperation of the Angel of Dawn Konan, it took less than half a day. The Konoha shinobi team completely took over Rain Shinobi Village and issued a new statement to the shinobi, that is, Konoha Village merged with Rain Shinobi Village. From now on, Rain Shinobi Village will be Konoha Village's one of the subordinate forces. As soon as the news came out, the shinobi world shook again. No one thought that the Akatsuki organization had just finished attacking the Konoha Village, and Konoha Village would return to its human body, and simply and neatly merged Rain Shinobi Village where the Akatsuki organization was located. This vigorous action made the scalp numb in the major ninja villages. More terrifying. This is the first time that Konoha Village has merged other shinobu villages in so many years. From the first generation project, second generation project, to third generation project, fourth generation project, Konoha Village has no precedent for annexing other shinobu villages. Now 5th Hokage won the upper ranks merged with Rain Shinobi Village. Advertisement. This is undoubtedly a signal. That is, the current Konoha Village has completely transformed and become cannibalistic. Sunagaker. After 4th Kazekage Rosa was killed by 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin, Sunagaker fell into chaos, but, at a critical moment, Sunagaker's elder, Chiyo, came out strongly and cooperated with Ilaozang. The speed stabilized Sunagaker's shaky situation. At this time, Fungying office in the central area. Looking at the latest intelligence scroll in their hands, Chiyo and Ilaozang fell into silence. Neither of them spoke. Virtually makes the atmosphere of the office extremely solemn. Oh, I don't know how long it has been. Only then did Chiyo put down the intelligence scroll in his hand and sighed. 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin was sharp enough to merge Rain Shinobi Village. Single quote. Yup. Ilaozang's expression is very solemn, saying, it seems that Konoha Village 3.2 is going to take the road of hegemonism and power. relying on his own strength to do whatever he wants, too domineering. After hearing these words, Chiyo said a little bit aggrieved, how is this 5th Hokage so different? Doesn't it mean that there is not a little will of fire? 3rd Hokage with the will of fire has been killed by 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin. Ilaozang shook his head bitterly. What should I do now? Chiyo's old face wrinkled and said in a very aggrieved tone, although we have surrendered, but, what if Konoha village wants to annex Sunagaku? Chapter 128. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 129 The Terror of the Major Ninja Villages, 4 more kneels for subscription. Cold. Before the words were over, Ilaozang shrugged helplessly, and pointedly said that with the strength of Konoha village and the strength of 5th Hokage, it is easy to unify the ninja world. Sunagaku can only take one step. Single quote. This can only be done. Chiyo smiled sullenly and nodded forcibly. There is nothing to say, you can do whatever you want with the strength, who told Konoha village to have a god of ninja world. Iwagakure. Since the last shot against Konoha village, tens of thousands of rock shinobi were destroyed by the group. Iwagakure's overall strength has dropped by almost 4 floors, and if 5 tails Jinchuriki is added, it would have dropped by almost 5 floors. Influenced by 3rd Tsuchikage Onoki, who escaped by a fluke, was seriously ill for 3 days and 3 nights after returning to Iwagakure. Fortunately, with the support of the Will of Stone. In the end, Ono 23 Mu had survived this shock that touched the soul and stood up again. And after this battle, 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin also left a serious psychological shadow in Onoki's heart, just like the original Uchiha Madara. 3rd Tsuchikage's office. Clang. This is the sound of a teacup falling to the ground. I saw Onoki, who has the title of Onoki of 2 Libras, suspended on an office chair, looking at the intelligence document in his hand tremblingly. Advertisement. Maybe it was too horrified. He didn't even notice that the teacup in his hand fell to the ground. How is it possible? Rain Shinobi Village in the Land of Rain has been annexed. Has the name of the Land of Rain unconditionally surrendered? In an instant, there was a stormy sea in Onoki's heart, and it couldn't calm down at all. He knew very well that once Konoha village set foot on the road to annex Ninja Village, the major ninja villages in the ninja world would be dangerous, and when he thought of Uchiha Ryujin, he recalled the fear of being dominated by Uchiha Ryujin on the battlefield. In front of, looking at the terrified 3rd Tsuchikage. The Lois, Terracotta, Wanya and other Iwagakure high-level executives also looked terrified. Obviously they knew that Konoha village had acquired Rain Shinobi village without blood. All the rock shinobi who are out are summoned back. I don't know how long I've been here, Onoki's eyes flashed with a stubborn look, and he ordered, from now on, all ninjas who see Konoha village will walk around me, don't let 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin find the right Iwagakure the reason for the move. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. I know. Okay. Lois, Terracotta, Wanya, etc. Iwagakure's high-level expressions are all very aggrieved, but, when I think of the power of Uchiha Ryujin, the god of the ninja world, even if it's suffocated. Who? All endured it. And before you know it, the executives of Rock Shinobi Village are beginning to miss 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, which is the only one to the outside world. Cloud Shinobi Village. Since the last time the Cloud Shinobi attacked Konoha Village and the 8 Tails Jinchuriki Killer Bee was captured, the entire Cloud Shinobi Village has fallen into ruin. No way. Advertisement. As a ninja village dominated by martial arts, Cloud Shinobi Village has not been defeated so badly yet. What is the result? 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin gave them a heart-wrenching defeat. At this time, in 4th Raikage's office, damn it. Looking at the latest piece of information in my hand. 4th Raikage Yazuki I patted the table grimly, and roared, Konoha village has merged with Rain Shinobi village. Do you want to be the enemy of the entire shinobi world? After hearing this sentence, Mabuyi, 4th Raikage's secretary, said cautiously, Lord 4th Raikage, now Konoha village, seems to be invincible in the ninja world. According to the news we received, the Akatsuki organization was almost annihilated, and even Nagato, who owned Rinnegan, was beaten and fled. Single quote. When talking about this, Mabuyi also added that with the current strength of Konoha village, it has the capital to be the enemy of ninja world. Single quote. No, I won't admit defeat. Yayui's eyes flashed with hatred, and he clenched his fist and said coldly, Killer Bee was killed by Konoha village. No matter what, I will avenge Killer Bee. Okay. Mabuyi opened his mouth, trying to say something, but in the end he said nothing. She knows very well. The death of Killer Bee hits Master 4th Raikage too much. The more powerful Konoha village becomes, the less Master 4th Raikage will be convinced, and will not give in. It will only become more and more courageous. As the order passed, Cloud Shinobi Village increased its investment in ninja training resources. The next moment, Yui stood up fiercely and gave an extremely firm order sentence. Kurigakur. Advertisement. After Genshi and Three Tails Jinchuriki Yakura died, the entire Kurigakur also experienced a large-scale chaos, but, fortunately, Kurigakur's elite Jonin Terumi Mei stood up in time, turned the tide, and successfully sat on the 5th Mizukage position. At this time, Mizukage 420's office, is it too difficult? What exactly is Konoha Village going to do? Rain Shinobi Village is annexed by Konoha Village. 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin wants to unify the shinobi world. Several Kurigakur executives all showed a wisp of panic. It is really the aggressiveness that Konoha Village showed, which made them feel a little scalp numb. 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin listened to these words. Terumi Mei's aquamarine eyes flashed with a hint of helplessness. After all, Kurigakur's strength was too weak. In front of the ninja god, there must be no fight back. This sounds a bit self-defeating, but Terumi Mei knows that this is true. Let's wait and see the changes. After a while, Terumi Mei took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, the current ninja world is no longer peaceful, we can only take a step and look at it. Yes, Lord Mizukage. Several Kurigakur executives apparently also knew the actual situation of Kurigakur, and they all nodded sadly. Chapter 129. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 130 The Last Way to Resurrect Madara. Konoha Village merged with Rain Shinobi Village and the waves caused by it continue. Such as Sunagakur, Iwagakur, Kurigakur, Cloud Shinobi Village seemed to have no response on the surface, but they are panicked and criticized. Of course, some small ninja villages have different minds. Since Konoha Village is so strong, why don't you just join if you can't beat it? Isn't it a good thing? When I think of being annexed by Konoha Village, I can enjoy the shelter of 5th Hokage, the god of the ninja world. Those little ninja villages are a wave of excitement and anticipation. Influenced by the situation in the ninja world has become a little more subtle. Da Ninja is afraid of Konoha Village, but Shao Ninja is looking forward to Konoha Village. At the same time, inside a gloomy underground cave in ninja world. Uchiha Obito, why didn't you take Konan away with him? Nagato's face was extremely ferocious, and he gritted his teeth and said, if you don't rescue Konan, I will destroy the pair of Rinnegan. Single quote. If we don't have her to cover us, do you think we can escape? After hearing these words, masked man Uchiha Obito's expression changed, and he yelled in a cold voice. Now 5th Hokage has become a general trend, and it is not something we can deal with. If I go to save Konan, I will be killed in all likelihood. Advertisement. Nagato froze for a moment, and a ray of pain flashed in his eyes. He did not expect that because of his own arrogance, not only Akatsuki was destroyed, but Rain Shinobi Village was annexed by Konoha Village. Finally, Konan did not escape the fate of being captured. Feel uncomfortable and want to cry. For a while, Nagato was stunned. And seeing this scene, the masked man Uchiha Obito's eyes were slightly cold, and he did not speak, invisibly making the atmosphere of the cave dignified. Boom. But at this moment, Black Zetsu and White Zetsu emerged from the underground at the same time. Rain Shinobi Village has been completely annexed by Konoha Village. Konan has become the new leader of Konoha Village Rain Shinobi Village, helping Konoha Village rule Rain Shinobi Village. White Zetsu said solemnly. What? Konan must be persecuted. Damn Konoha Village, damn 5th Hokage. Before he finished speaking, Nagato's pale cheeks became paler, perhaps because he was too angry, and he vomited a few big mouthfuls of blood. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. The situation in Ninja World is very complicated now. Looking at Nagato, who was nearly exhausted, Black Zetsu said solemnly, I suspect that Konoha Village's next plan is to collect tail beasts and unify the whole shinobi. Cough. Nagato coughed violently, ignoring the blood coming out of the corner of his mouth. Coldly said, we must stop Konoha Village, stop 5th Hokage. Once 5th Hokage gathers the 9-tailed beasts, we will no longer be able to revolving heaven. When talking about this, Nagato added with a cold face, Konan is still in the hands of Konoha Village, I can't save Ninja, but I must save her. Alas, we also want to stop Konoha Village, but we can't beat 5th Hokage. Advertisement. Konoha Village is too strong. 5th Hokage is terrifying, and we are still powerless based on our current strength. Looking at Nagato, Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, and White Zetsu who were in madness, they looked at each other, and each could see the wisps of playfulness in their eyes. Yes, the three of them have secretly communicated. Now 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin is so strong that it can be called invincible in the world. With their power alone, it is impossible to collect tail beasts, so they can only find a way to bring back the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. In other words, only to resurrect Uchiha Madara. In order to completely suppress 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin. Then what should I do? At this time, Nagato didn't notice that there was something wrong with Uchiha Obito and others, and said somewhat sullenly, "Are we just watching Konoha village continue to grow stronger? Watching Konoha village act recklessly in the ninja world and collect tail beasts? There is one way." Maybe it was because the atmosphere of brewing was almost over, the masked man Uchiha Obito took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. "What method?" Nagato forcibly refreshed himself, with hope in his eyes, saying, "Uchiha Obito, just say what you have." Use Rinnegan to resurrect Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Obito's eyes must be certain, and he said simply and neatly, "The current 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin is too strong, only Uchiha Madara who owns Rinnegan can deal with him." "What?" Nagato exclaimed. Advertisement. He glanced suspiciously at Uchiha Obito. After all, both of them are Uchiha Madara's pawns. Once Uchiha Madara is resurrected, then Project Tasuki no Mi must be based on Uchiha Madara. No way, the situation is compelling. Uchiha Obito shrugged his shoulders pretending to be helpless, and slowly said that in order for Project Tasuki no Mi to proceed smoothly, Uchiha Madara could only be resurrected. Of course, Uchiha Obito did not say one more thing, that is, he has nowhere to go, joking. Since knowing that Rin Nohara was killed by Uchiha Madara's design, he hated Uchiha Madara to the extreme, but no doubt he has no turning back, only one way to the dark. Now he intends to drive away the tiger. Let Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Ryujin bite the dog. He hides behind the scenes to reap the benefits, and uses Project Tasuki no Mi to resurrect Nohara Lin and create a ninja world without war. There is only this way, Black Zetsu added a deep voice. You decide. White Zetsu also said slowly. That's it. Seeing that Uchiha Obito, White Zetsu, and Black Zetsu were so determined, Nagato frowned, and hesitated. Now although he is exhausted, he is not dead. And once Rinnegan's revolving heaven technique slave is used, he will die. Chapter 130. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 131 Desperate Nagato, resurrected Uchiha Madara. To be honest, even if some of the body's oil has run out. But, Nagato still doesn't want to die. After all, he has too much on his back, Yahiko's ideals, and Konan who was captured by Konoha village. If you resurrect Uchiha Madara using the revolving heaven technique of outer Dao wheels, we will find a way to resurrect you with impure world reincarnation. At this time, the masked man Uchiha Obito looked at the hesitant Nagato and said in a deep voice. To tell you the truth, Orochimaru is already optimizing the impure world reincarnation. As long as the purity of impure world reincarnation is high enough, we will be the first time. Bring you out of impure world reincarnation. By that time, although you are dead, but, actually still alive. Ha ha. I took a look at Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, White Zetsu. Nagato smiled coldly, and shook his head disdainfully. He was not a fool. He was just in anger, so he didn't find anything wrong. Now it seems that Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, and White Zetsu are inmating dolls. Nagato, let's be honest. Now that I was seen through, Uchiha Obito was too lazy to pretend, saying, you have to sacrifice yourself and resurrect Uchiha Madara, so that we have the capital to compete with 5th Hokage. That's right. Advertisement. Black Zetsu smiled coldly and said, you are just a pawn, 297 must have the spirit of sacrifice. For Project Tasuki no Mi, you sacrifice it. White Zetsu also added coldly. In a word, Lord Uchiha Madara will avenge you. Ha ha ha. Looking at Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, and White Zetsu's unabashed cheeks, Nagato laughed tragically, saying, it is really different and unconspiring. Do you want to abandon me if I have no use value? Let me tell you, Rinnegan is here. Bum. After this sentence, a terrifying pupil power fluctuation swept from Nagato's Rinnegan. Unfortunately, when Nagato urged Rinnegan, Uchiha Obito's body flashed without any movement. Appeared behind Nagato. Before Nagato could react, a wooden stick penetrated from Nagato's back to his chest. You. Looking at the stick on your chest. An unbelievable look filled Nagato's cheeks. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. He didn't think, CDF, that Uchiha Obito would be so cruel and cruel. After all, everyone is a pawn, so why is it too anxious? I didn't want to do it, but unfortunately you don't know how to promote. Since you don't want to be decent, then I will help you decent. Uchiha Obito took the stick out of Nagato's body and said indifferently, I can do anything for Project Tasuki no Mi, so if you are unwilling to cooperate, then I can only send you a ride. Puff. And the moment the stick was drawn out, the blood was sprayed out like no money, and it directly stained Nagato's clothes. Advertisement. Hiki heard this sentence. Perceiving the body's fading vitality, Nagato Rinnegan's pupil power quickly dissipated, and he coughed violently, but could not say anything. Obviously, he was exhausted, and after suffering a fatal blow from Uchiha Obito, he could no longer hold on. Do you know what the real Project Tsuki no Mi is? Looking at the powerless Nagato, Uchiha Obito said slowly, collecting 9-tailed beasts to make tailed beast weapons is actually just a cover. The real Project Tsuki no Mi is to resurrect 10 tails, and cast infinite Tsukuyomi on the ninja world. Really? Nagato, who was already paralyzed on the ground, flashed a clear light in his eyes. He has always had an intuition in his heart, that is, Project Tsuki no Mi is not as simple as imagined. You guessed it. Let's do it. Uchiha Obito obviously didn't want to say anything, and gestured to Black Zetsu. Okay. There was a sound of breaking through the air. Under Nagato's desperate and helpless eyes, Black Zetsu melted into his body and quickly took control of his body. Is the fate of the chess piece? Perceiving that he has lost control of his body, Nagato's heart has rarely calmed down. After all, he lost his fate and lost to himself. The only thing that comforts Nagato is that Konan is temporarily safe in Konoha village. Now when I think about it, it's a little ridiculous. Okay. After a few seconds, Black Zetsu controlled Nagato's body and said in a cold voice, I control his body and can start planning. Uchiha Obito nodded blankly, expecting a little in his heart, but more of it was hatred. I am ready too. Advertisement. White Zetsu moved Uchiha Madara's body out of the ground at an extremely fast speed, and said with some excitement, that Lord Uchiha Madara could finally be resurrected. The next moment, without any signs, a terrifying chakra wave broke out on Nagato's body, and dozens of seals were quickly formed on both hands. Single quote. Boom. Suddenly, Rinnegan burst out terrifying pupil power fluctuations, a few seconds later. A strange breath of green energy enveloped Uchiha Madara's elderly body. It didn't take long for Uchiha Madara's old and lifeless body to gradually become younger, and his vitality grew out of nothing, becoming full of vitality and vitality. Has your body actually become younger? Sure enough, it is Uchiha Madara-sama, the breath of life is so strong. Seeing Uchiha Madara's changing body, Uchiha Obito and White Zetsu couldn't help but exclaimed. A moment later, the weird green energy gradually dissipated, affected by this. Nagato's body seemed to be due to the forbidden technique, and fell to the ground. If you perceive it carefully, you will find that the chakra and vitality on Nagato's body are rapidly dissipating, and he is obviously dead. In contrast, Uchiha Madara, who was lying on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes. Chapter 131. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 132 Uchiha Madara's shock. On the contrary, Uchiha Madara, who was lying on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes. Resurrected. Uchiha Madara hesitated for a while, then stood up slowly, and subconsciously muttered to herself, it seemed that the plan had been successful, and it was time for me to come to the ninja world. But wait a minute. When Uchiha Madara saw Nagato's miserable corpse, her brows frowned, and there was a vague premonition in her heart. In his plan, after the 9-tailed beasts are collected, Black Zetsu and White Zetsu will wait for the opportunity to resurrect him. It can be seen that Nagato's appearance is obviously a little unsatisfied, it seems that he is controlled by someone to use the revolving heaven technique. Uchiha Madara big human. At this time, Black Zetsu got out of Nagato's body and screamed respectfully. What is going on? Uchiha Madara's gaze condensed, and he glanced at Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, Uchiha Obito, and said coldly, I have arranged everything before I die, so, have you collected the tail beasts? Upon hearing this sentence, Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, and Uchiha Obito all looked down. He lost his head and fell into silence. Advertisement. How many tail beasts have been collected? Uchiha Madara frowned, folded her hands on her chest, and said quietly, with your strength, it is easy to collect 5 or 6 tail beasts. Coupled with the cooperation of Akatsuki, even collecting 9-tailed beasts is okay. Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, Uchiha Obito glanced at each other, and each could see the helplessness in their eyes. Can they say that none of the tail beasts have been collected? If they really say that, Uchiha Madara is afraid that he will run away on the spot. Talk. Looking at the silent Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, Uchiha Madara, my heart suddenly became uncomfortable, and he hummed indifferently. Lord Uchiha Madara. Perhaps knowing that I can't help it, White Zetsu cautiously said, so far, we have not collected any of our tail beasts. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. The voice hasn't fallen yet. Uchiha Madara's expression changed suddenly, and a majestic shock wave erupted from his body, and Uchiha Obito, Black Zetsu, and White Zetsu could not breathe directly. Anger. Extreme anger. As the existence that once stood at the apex of ninja world. Uchiha Madara's heart has already been able to do it. Surprised, but now he still couldn't help being angry. Before dying, he arranged everything. As long as a pig follows his plan, he can collect the 9-tailed beasts. Advertisement. The results of it. These waste things, not even a tail beast collected. Doesn't it mean that the plan is still at the beginning stage? Thinking about it, it is all annoying. What is going on? A few seconds later, Uchiha Madara asked in an overbearing tone, are you taking my words as deaf ears? How did Nagato die? What about Akatsuki? Dare not. We have been following your plan all the time. Single quote. Lord Uchiha Madara, even if you give us 10 courage, we don't dare to mess around. Single quote. Perceiving Uchiha Madara's disdain for everything, the expressions of Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, and Uchiha Obito all changed, and they really wanted to cry. No way. Uchiha Madara's momentum is really scary, huh? Uchiha Madara's eyes flickered, and he gave a cold snort, saying, since you don't say anything, then I will do it myself. Huh. After saying this, Uchiha Madara appeared beside White Zetsu in a flash, and before White Zetsu could react, he grabbed White Zetsu's head. How can it be? Soon, after sensing a series of messages from White Zetsu, Uchiha Madara was stunned. The color of horror rarely appeared in her calm eyes. The originally restless heart caused a stormy sea. It can't calm down. It's not wrong to ask for flowers. He just read all the memories of White Zetsu. Suddenly, he was shocked. It turned out that after his death, so many big things happened in the shinobi world. Advertisement. At the end of the Third Ninja World War, Konoha village won the final victory. This was something he had expected before he died. After the Third Ninja World War, all the plans were following his script. But, during the night of the Uchiha clan extermination, there was an accident. Uchiha Ryujin of the Uchiha clan was born. Destroyed the high-level leaders headed by 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen with absolute strength, defeated the 4 ninja coalition forces, included 3 tails, 5 tails, and 8 tails, and finally, 1st Hokage, which came out of the Big Toad Sage Impure World reincarnation Senju Hashirama was defeated and took the place of 5th Hokage as the god of Ninja World. After taking the seat of 5th Hokage, Uchiha Ryujin abolished the Will of Fire, defeated the Akatsuki organization, and merged with Rain Shinobi Village. Sack time. Uchiha Madara's heart was shocked. He never thought that such a Uchiha clan would actually appear. The awesome characters not only led the Uchiha clan to stand up, but also took the seat of 5th Hokage. This is even more violent than he was at the beginning. More importantly, it also defeated 1st Hokage Senju Hashirama from Impure World reincarnation. As for Uchiha Ryujin, he has some impressions. At the beginning, when he was choosing a substitute, Uchiha Obito and Uchiha Ryujin are both candidates for his attention, but Uchiha Ryujin is too thief. He almost never leaves Konoha village and joined the Konoha security force. Therefore, Uchiha Madara chose to design Uchiha Obito and let Uchiha Obito be his stand-in. It's all right now, the person he didn't choose at the beginning is already the god of the ninja world. As for Uchiha Obito, forget it, don't talk about it. Chapter 132. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 133 Rain Shinobi Village Sign in. Yin Yang Escape 1 more kneels for subscription. Uchiha Ryujin also knows our plan, and also knows that Nagato and Uchiha Obito are my pawns. I don't know how long it took. Uchiha Madara frowned, as if talking to herself, and as if asking about Black Zetsu, Uchiha Obito, White Zetsu. Lord Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Ryujin really knows our detailed plan. Black Zetsu said in some incredible words that this Uchiha Ryujin was unremarkable before the night of Uchiha's extermination, and there was no bright spot, but, after Uchiha's night of extermination, it was like the birth of a hidden dragon, and it was unacceptable. Impossible. Uchiha Madara is a little stupid. This time when he was resurrected, he thought it was when he was exhibiting Kamui, but the result. Ninja World actually had such a peerless metamorphosis. As for the authenticity of the news, Uchiha Madara has no doubt at 1060. After all, he created both White Zetsu and Black Zetsu. With a single thought, he could kill countless clones of White Zetsu in an instant. And so, Black Zetsu and White Zetsu cannot betray him. Seeing Uchiha Madara's face changed, whether it was White Zetsu, Black Zetsu, or Uchiha Obito, they fell into silence. Among them, Black Zetsu is okay, already used to it. But, Uchiha Obito kept suppressing his hatred of Uchiha Madara in his heart. Fortunately, he was wearing a mask, otherwise Uchiha Madara would definitely be able to see Uchiha Obito's already distorted cheeks. Interesting, it is really getting more and more interesting. But, advertisement. Uchiha Madara is Uchiha Madara, not long after. He completely recovered, and his cheeks reappeared calmly. Uchiha Madara was surprised when Uchiha Ryujin was born and could defeat Senju Hashirama of Impure World reincarnation, but, that's all. After all, he now owns Rinnegan. Suppressing a Uchiha Ryujin is easy. The only thing that surprised Uchiha Madara was how Uchiha Ryujin practiced and how he knew so much about Project Tasuki no Mi. Nagato still has utility value. You are too anxious. As long as the time is right, Rinnegan will automatically use the outer Dao round revolving heaven technique. The next moment, Uchiha Madara took a few steps forward, lowered his body and dug out Nagato's Rinnegan neatly, deducted the two ordinary Sharingan from his eyes, and installed Rinnegan in it. The moment Rinnegan returned, a frightening aura swept from Uchiha Madara. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Is this the 6 levels? Perceiving the breath of Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Obito resisted the tingling sensation of his scalp, and his heart was panicked. He realized that he had underestimated Uchiha Madara. The old Uchiha Madara, and the now resurrected Uchiha Madara, completely. There are two forms. Especially after Rinnegan returned to his position, Uchiha Madara seemed to have achieved a metamorphosis, and the quality of the spirit and spirit had changed. Cool. After a while, Uchiha Madara sensed Rinnegan's terrible power, and then slowly said, Uchiha Ryujin is known as the strongest under the 6 realms, but I don't know how long it can last under my hands. Advertisement. Hearing this, Black Zetsu said respectfully, Uchiha Madara, who owns Rinnegan, of course, is an invincible existence in the ninja world. As long as Uchiha Madara-sama takes a shot, he will definitely be able to catch it. White Zetsu also hurriedly said, Obito, do you hate me? At this time, Uchiha Madara seemed to think of something, his eyes flickered, and he said calmly. I am very grateful to Lord Uchiha Madara. Hearing this, Uchiha Obito trembled and hurriedly said, if it weren't for Uchiha Madara, I might still be the tale of the 10,000 years crane. Now I just want to help Uchiha Madara and complete Project Tasuki no Mi. It is good. Uchiha Madara nodded calmly. Since he is resurrected, he actually doesn't care about Uchiha Obito anymore, but he needs an attitude of Uchiha Obito, an attitude of surrendering to him. As for Uchiha Obito, he felt relieved in his heart. Isn't it easy? Facing the current Uchiha Madara, he just walked away from a ghost gate. I have just been resurrected and I need to thoroughly understand the genin world. After a while, Uchiha Madara thought for a while, and then said blankly. When I have an understanding of the shinobi world, we will discuss the next step. In a word, since I have been resurrected, this time I must completely turbulent ninja world. Yes. Upon hearing this sentence, Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, and Uchiha Obito nodded indiscriminately. At the same moment, Rain Shinobi Village in the Rain Country. After Konoha Village merged with Rain Shinobi Village. Advertisement. A lot of resources and supplies were given to Rain Shinobi Village. In less than a few days, the messy Rain Shinobi Village that had been destroyed was rebuilt. The Rain Shinobi of Rain Shinobi Village still maintains the independent designation of Rain Shinobi and is under the direct jurisdiction of 5th Hokage. In this regard, of course Rain Shinobi has no opinion. As for the civilians of Rain Shinobi Village, they welcome the ninjas of Konoha Village even more. Especially after learning that 5th Hokage is in Rain Shinobi Village, they are even more excited. At this time, in the central area of Rain Shinobi Village, on a high tower, Uchiha Ryujin is sitting in his office, drinking tea and enjoying Conan's massage. System, sign in at Rain Shinobi Village in Rain Country. Uchiha Ryujin narrowed his eyes for 0.3, sitting on the chair, silently living inside. Ordered 1 sentence. 1 second. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Finally, after 1 minute. The clear prompt sound of the system finally sounded. Ding. Congratulations to host. Congratulations to host. Merged Rain Shinobi Village and refreshed the map of Rain Shinobi Village. Ding. Congratulations, host, successfully signed in at the sign-in location refreshed by the system Rain Shinobi Village. Ding. Congratulations to the host for getting Yin and Yang Escape, Fire-Style Detonation Flame Array. Ding. The reward has been distributed to the system space, and the host can check it at any time. Once the fusion is accepted, the host can use it with a tap of both hands. Chapter 133. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 134 Welfare Sign In. Second more kneeling for subscription. It's actually Yin Yang Dun and Fire Style Detonation Flame Array. Listening to the prompt sound from the system, Uchiha Ryujin's calm heart fluctuates a bit, he did not expect. In Rain Shinobi Village, I was able to sign in to get Yin Yang Escape and Fire Style Initiation Flame Array. Among them, Fire Style Initiation Flame Array is not to be mentioned. It is the master skill of Hanzo of the Salamander, the previous leader of Rain Shinobi Village. Was overcast by this ninjutsu. As for Yin and Yang Escape, it is a secret technique belonging to Sage of 6 Paths. It is known as a technique that creates all things from nothing and gives life to it, and it is also called the Yin-Yang Evacuation Technique. Simply put, Yin Dun represents the power of the spirit, and Yin Dun technique can create a form in the invisible. Yang Dun represents the power of the physical body, and Yang Dun technique can inject life into the form. The combination of the two is Yin-Yang Taoism. Note: Yin and Yang escape, Yin and Yang attributes, and Yin and Yang power are three different abilities, which cannot be confused. Before reaching the level of 6 levels, he drew 6 secret techniques. The next moment, feeling the comfort coming from behind, Uchi 27 Wave Ryujin suppressed his inner joy, took a cup of tea and took a sip of hot tea. What else can I say? After learning Yin and Yang escape, he must become stronger again. Ding. Congratulations to host, who dominates the country of Rain and successfully signed in at Rain Shinobi Village. I am specially rewarded with a chance to sign in for welfare. Do you use it? What? Welfare sign in. Ding. Host, is the benefit the system gives you. Oh, I see. After hearing these words, advertisement. Uchiha Ryujin nodded thoughtfully. Originally, after signing in at Rain Shinobi Village, the next time the system signs in, it will be refreshed after a period of time. As a result, the system now actually rewards a welfare check-in, which means that Uchiha Ryujin can seamlessly connect for the next check-in. When I think of this, Uchiha Ryujin's eyes must be. You know, nowadays ordinary sign-in has little effect on his strength growth, so sign in where the system refreshes. This is what Uchiha Ryujin looks forward to most, and now there is a bonus sign-in opportunity rewarded by the system. In line with the principle of being a bastard, Uchiha Ryujin can't wait to sign in right away. System, I want to see the properties panel. In the next moment, without any hesitation, Uchiha Ryujin simply opened the property panel that only he could see. After a quick glance, Uchiha Ryujin saw that the welfare check-in location on the attribute panel was unexpectedly undecided. Random transmission, read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Interesting. Seeing 4 characters sent randomly, Uchiha Ryujin's cheeks showed interest. The more mysterious the system is, the more excited and expectant he will be. Increase your strength. After a while, Uchiha Ryujin in a good mood seemed to perceive something and gave a quiet command. Oh, after hearing these words, Conan's pretty face is a bit stiff. But, the brows were still frowned, and the silver teeth clenched to increase the strength of the hands. What else can be said? Facing the transformation and merger of Kurigakure by Konoha Village. Advertisement. Conan has gradually succumbed from the resistance at the beginning, especially seeing the revitalized Rain Shinobi Village. Her heart gradually has light. Jiraiya, one of the 3 ninjas, will be at Rain Shinobi Village this afternoon. Soon, Uchiha Ryujin seemed to think of it, and said something meaningfully. Teacher Jiraiya. Conan's hands paused for a moment, and then he beat his back even more. That afternoon, in a conference room above the tower, Uchiha Ryujin, Tsunade, Jiraiya are all gathered together. Master 5th Hokage, the name of the land of rain has been secretly changed by us. Tsunade took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. From now on, the name of the land of rain will be seen as our head. Single quote. It is good. Uchiha Ryujin nodded very satisfied. In fact, after the unification of Konoha Village, the name of the country of fire has been secretly destroyed. No way. Who is the name of the country of fire? They wear the same pair of pants as 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. In order to cause unnecessary disputes and leave hidden dangers, Uchiha Ryujin made people secretly make the name of the country of fire. There is also an episode, that is, the guardian ninja she who protects the name of the country of fire, and vainly tried to fight against Konoha Village. In the end, Konoha Anbu was wiped out by the force of thunder, including Sarutobi Asuma, was mercilessly killed. For the development of Rain Shinobi Village, we will follow the development policy of Konoha Village. The next moment, Uchiha Ryujin thought about it for a moment, and then said calmly, as far as possible to give me the strength of Rain Shinobi Village in the shortest possible time. Understand. Tsunade nodded solemnly. Conan, sit here. Advertisement. Uchiha Ryujin turned his head and looked at Conan, who was standing behind him and had not spoken. Yes, Lord 5th Hokage. Conan nodded cautiously, took a look at Jiraiya, and then took a few steps forward and sat on a chair. Seeing the embarrassed Conan, Jiraiya shook his head with a sad expression, and sighed involuntarily. This time he came to Rain Shinobi Village. He was actually for Conan. For Yahiko and Nagato, Jiraiya felt self-blame and regret besides helplessness. If I guessed correctly, Nagato may be dead. Uchiha Ryujin glanced at Jiraiya and Conan, and said in a deep voice, after the Akatsuki organization was annihilated by our entire army, Nagato's last little use value was lost, so. I haven't finished speaking. But Conan, Jiraiya, and Tsunade who were present had guessed the result at once. Impossible. Conan's expression paled for a while, and he muttered to himself in despair, no wonder I have been restless these days, is Nagato already dead? Bang. Next moment. Maybe I can't accept this fact. Conan's spirit fluctuated, his eyes went dark, and he fainted in the conference room. We continue the meeting. Glancing at Conan, who had fainted, Uchiha Ryujin's expression remained unchanged, and he said nothing, but said quietly. Yes, it is. Tsunade nodded without change. It is good. Jiraiya hesitated, and nodded in agreement. Chapter 134. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 135 Ryuchi Cave, Blast Shinya. After discussing Rain Shinobi Village's governance policy, the meeting soon ended. And Uchiha Ryujin glanced at Conan, who was in a coma, and shook his head involuntarily. In the original work, Conan is a tragic character who was killed by the masked man Uchiha Obito. Now, her fate is completely changed. As for whether he can survive the catastrophe, it's up to Conan himself. Uchiha Ryujin is powerless. Let me take her away. Tsunade slowly got up and said with a chuckle, how can you see the rainbow without experiencing setbacks? Conan's endurance is still too weak. It is good. Thinking that Tsunade's previous experience was similar to Conan's, Uchiha Ryujin nodded neatly. After she wakes up, I will go to enlighten her. A guilt flashed in Jiraiya's eyes, and he said subconsciously. Whatever you. Uchiha Ryujin shrugged indifferently and left. Hearing these words, Tsunade smiled, took a few steps forward, carried Conan on his shoulders, and strode out of the meeting room. Lord 5th Hokage, don't worry, I will make Conan cheer up again. Seeing Tsunade carrying Conan's leaving back, Jiraiya took a deep breath and made a very solemn promise. Advertisement. Immediately, also turned and left the meeting room. Rain Shinobi Village was merged, and now the plot has been completely rewritten. After Jiraiya left the meeting room, the corners of Uchiha Ryujin's mouth were slightly tilted, and he muttered to himself. Now it's time to see how Uchiha Obito and Black Zetsu will shine their swords. System, I want to use the opportunity to sign in with benefits. It didn't take long. Uchiha Ryujin, who was sitting in the chair, gave a silent command. There is nothing to say, at this level. He is almost the strongest under the 6 levels. Therefore, he is full of expectations and yearning for the 6 paths, especially after drew the secret technique of Sage of 6 Paths Yin and Yang escape. This kind of expectation and yearning has become even stronger. Of course, Uchiha Ryujin also tried it, trying to break through the 6 levels, but, helplessly, it was always a little bit worse, as if being suppressed invisibly, which made Uchiha Ryujin extremely depressed and heart palpitations. If someone suppresses him invisibly, you don't need to know who it is, and the sense of crisis will increase exponentially. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Ding, host, random transmission will start soon, are you sure? Okay, I'm sure. Hey, after this sentence. With the production of a white smoke, Uchiha Ryujin disappeared. Ryuchi Cave. As a place of inheritance equal to Mount Myoboku and Wetbone Forest, it is also famous in the ninja world. The ancestor of Ryuchi Cave is a white-scaled serpent that has survived for more than 1,000 years during the Kagaya era. He is revered as the White Snake Fairy. Under normal circumstances, everything that happens in Ryuchi Cave will be passed to the White Snake Fairy's ears. At this time, in the hiding place of Ryuchi Cave, a huge one-eyed scarlet snake with inverted scales is cultivating sage mode boringly there. Advertisement. Its name is Shinya. Because it lost one of the eyes in the battle before, it became a giant snake that wreaked havoc everywhere. Even the White Snake Fairy didn't know anything about it, and the snakes living in Ryuchi Cave hated it. No one wants to approach it. When can I go out? Before long, Shinya opened his one-eyed and twisted his huge snake body. It was going to bully other snakes to entertain the boring time. Sneer. But, just when Shinya was about to leave her cave, along with the fluctuations in the space, a human being in the Hokage royal robe appeared in its cave. Humanity. Looking at the human beings that suddenly appeared, Shinya froze for a moment, as if there was no reaction, and finally revealed an unbelievable color in hindsight. Are you kidding me? A human being actually appeared in its cave. Is this a gift from heaven? This is too cool. Finally you can taste the taste of people. The next moment, after reacting, Shinya smiled grimly, revealing his sharp teeth, and violently opened his bloody mouth toward Uchiha Ryujin. What a rich natural energy. On the other side, Uchiha Ryujin was sent to Ryuchi Cave at random, and just felt the natural energy of bathing his whole body. As a result, a nauseating smell of blood came on his face. Tea nest grass. The next moment, when Uchiha Ryujin was sure of his mind, and after taking a good look, he found a big mouth with a blood basin bigger than him, swallowing it towards him. Even if he didn't look closely, he could see the sharp fangs and the drool that flowed like silk threads. Ever since, in this situation, Uchiha Ryujin gathered his 5 fingers subconsciously, clenched his fists, and blasted out. Advertisement. Seemingly plain fist. At the moment the bombardment went out, a terrifying force that shook the entire Ryuchi cave erupted. Immediately afterwards, before Shinya had reacted, she found that the air directly in front of her had been shattered by a burst of fluorescent white energy. Yes, the air is split like a spider web, how can it be possible? This is the last thought in Shinya's mind. Because, after the terrifying white power acts on its big mouth, no money is good. Its body froze, and its big mouth and its body were blasted alive in an instant. The time of the sack was flying around, and the scene was extremely bloody and violent. At the same moment, the entire Ryuchi cave was shaken. There was an incredible look in the eyes of countless giant snakes, because in their perception, the deepest part of Ryuchi cave, where Shinya was located, actually showed a human aura. More importantly, Shinya's breath of life disappeared all at once. Although they are all beasts, the snakes in Ryuchi cave are not stupid. After a little thought, someone has sneaked into Ryuchi cave and killed Ryuchi cave's extremely irritable Shinya. Think about the terrifying fox. The entire Ryuchi cave rioted in an instant. Chapter 135. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 136 Sign in. Perfect Sage Mode 1 more kneels for subscription. Ryuchi cave, as one of the 3 holy places, once rioted. The terrifying power that erupted was quite terrifying and terrifying. Boom. Boom. Almost in an instant. The violent breath of stalks rose from everywhere in Ryuchi cave, and when they gathered together, it makes the entire Ryuchi cave seem to be in a state of rampage. A human. How did he run into the hidden place? Shinya. Shinya was actually blown up, and his body was turned into debris. And a minute later, the senior leaders of Ryuchi cave headed by Tien Shinji, Ikikishima Haim, and Tanjinji took the lead to rush to the hidden place where Shinya was located. When he saw Shinya, who was already dead and couldn't die anymore, his forehead was on his forehead. His cold sweat broke out at once, and there was an uproar. No way. It is really Tien Shinji, Shichu Island Ji, and Tanjinji did not expect that Shinya, who was arrogant and unscrupulous in Ryuchi cave, would be blown up alive, so terrible. But wait a minute, at this moment, Tien Shinji seemed to see something. 897 flashed past her aquamarine eyes. With a ray of horror, he said in an unbelievable tone, could this man be the legendary 5th Hokage? Advertisement. What? 5th Hokage? Upon hearing these words, Shikijima Haim and Tanjinji also reacted, and took a close look at the human who suddenly appeared and exploded Shinya. As a result, I didn't know it, and I was shocked when I saw it. The very obvious Hokage royal robe had already revealed the identity of the human being in front of me. As for 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin, who is known as the god of the ninja world, as the senior members of Ryuchi cave, Tianshinshinheim, Ikijishimahime, Tansuhime knew about it, but they didn't expect that 5th Hokage Uchiha Ryujin actually went to Ryuchi cave coming. Soundless at this time, accompanied by the sound of rubbing the ground. I saw a scalp numb, and hideous snakes appeared one after another. Hachan Shinjin-ji, Shikijima-ji, and Tanjin-ji were almost the same. After seeing Shinya's blown body, these giant snakes were all taken aback. Shinya is dead. This human killed Shinya. Even if Shinya doesn't agree with us, we don't see Shinya, but it won't be the turn of a human to come to Ryuchi cave. Eat him, you must eat him. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Another extremely cold voice sounded, compared with Tien Shinji, Ikikishima Haim, and Tanjin-ji. These terrifying cold-blooded giant snakes seem to be not very clever, making bloody and violent sounds, and what's more, the saliva in the snake's mouth has flowed out. Obviously, for these giant snakes who have stayed in Ryuchi cave for a long time and don't understand the situation in Ninja World, Uchiha Ryujin is already a Chinese meal. At this moment, did you arrive at Ryuchi cave? Advertisement. Uchiha Ryujin sensed the constantly appearing giant snakes containing natural energy, and instantly knew where he was randomly teleported to by the system. He also knew about Ryuchi cave, one of the 3 holy places. System. Sign in at Ryuchi cave. Single quote. In the next moment, Uchiha Ryujin completely ignored these scalp-numbing snakes and gave a silent command without any hesitation. 1 second. 10 seconds and 30 seconds. Soon, after a minute. The clear prompt of the system finally sounded. Ding. Congratulations to the host, who was randomly teleported to Ryuchi cave, one of the 3 holy places, and refreshed the map of Ryuchi cave. Ding. Congratulations, host, successfully signed in at the sign-in location refreshed by the system Ryuchi cave. Ding, che. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a perfect sage mode without side effects. Ding. The reward has been distributed to the system space, and the host can check it at any time. Once integrated and accepted, You can learn Sage Mode perfectly, and you can enter Sage Mode with a single shot of your hands. Finally here, the long-awaited Sage Mode. After listening to the prompt sound from the system, a faint smile flashed across Uchiha Ryujin's eyes. In fact, after signing in to get Senju Hashirama's Sage Body, he has been waiting to sign in to get Sage Mode. Now, he finally signed in to get Sage Mode. As for what Sage Mode is, needless to say, it is probably by absorbing a certain amount of natural energy to create chakra, which greatly enhances the power of ninjutsu, physique, and illusion. In the original work, what impressed Uchiha Ryujin the most was Uzumaki Naruto's Sage of Six Paths mode, which was quite awesome and powerful. Advertisement. System, I want to integrate and accept the perfect Sage mode without side effects. At the next moment, Uchiha Ryujin secretly ordered. After this sentence, a burst of white energy poured into Uchiha Ryujin's body, and then, under the unbelievable look of countless giant snakes in Ryuchi Cave, countless natural energy in Ryuchi Cave. Like a wild horse running out of the rain, it flooded into Uchiha Ryujin's body uncontrollably. The terrifying formation even caused a giant vortex in the air. Horror. Extreme horror. Facing this suffocating scene, the snakes in Ryuchi Cave, headed by Shinki Tianshin, Shikishimaki, and Tansuki, are all dumbfounded. There are countless question marks in the snake's mind. Are you kidding me? The human being in front of us is so desperately absorbing natural energy, is this trying to blow himself up? So, in this situation, the snakes in Ryuchi Cave, headed by Shinki Tianshin, Shikishimaki, and Tansuki, are not planning to do it anymore. From their point of view, the lifeless human in front of them is bound to die. How can the natural energy of Ryuchi Cave be what you want to breathe? Just want to suck. However, it is a pity that over time, Uchiha Ryujin has no tendency to explode at all. Instead, the aura on his body is more violent and frightening. Slap. Finally. After half an hour, a clear clap of hands resounded. Under the staring gaze of Ryuchi Cave snakes headed by Tashinki, Ikikishimaki, and Tansuki, Uchiha Ryujin's cheeks appeared uniquely to immortals. Chapter 136. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 137 Suppression of Ryuchi Cave. Secondly, begging for subscription, Sage Mode. Does he enter Sage Mode with a clap of his hands? Are you kidding? When was Sage Mode so simple? Looking at the fairy face that appeared on Uchiha Ryujin's cheek. The snakes in Ryuchi Cave, headed by Shinki Tianshin, Shikishimaki, and Tansuki, are just like hell, and they can't help showing a look of extreme shock. To know, is this Sage Mode? Even the snakes of Ryuchi Cave want to learn Sage Mode. You have to practice carefully, fearing that one will be backlashed by natural energy without paying attention, making the body petrified. Well, this human who suddenly appeared in Ryuchi Cave, after absorbing a large amount of natural energy, easily entered Sage Mode. This is especially true for fighting snakes. There is quite a kind. People are more angry than snakes, and the smell of snakes is so angry. Is this the perfect Sage Mode for system rewards? At this time, Uchiha Ryujin, who entered Sage Mode, was thinking, with some doubts in his expression. Because after entering Sage Mode, his Sage Body Chakra has already achieved a metamorphosis, all becoming Shanshu Chakra. But, the attributes of these fairy art chakras are very strange, seeming to contain the power of shock. In other words, advertisement. After entering Sage Mode, his shock fruit seemed to be fully awakened. The so-called Devil Fruit Awakening is a higher level of Devil Fruit's ability. For example, Paramesha ability awakening can have an impact on things other than the capable person. Zone can greatly improve his recovery and combat effectiveness after awakening, but if the awakening fails there will be side effects. Now that he enters Sage Mode, then Shock Fruit, known as the strongest Paramesha, awakened. How strong is Shock Fruit after awakening? It didn't take long before Uchiha Ryujin muttered to himself after sensing his own state. Shock Fruit after awakening, I am afraid that it is not easy to blast the space. Fifth Hokage, what on earth do you want to do? At this time, perhaps it was unbearable, Tien Shin Shenji took a deep breath, suppressed the throbbing in her heart, and said coldly, killing Shinya in Ryuchi Cave and stealing Sage Mode. You are so bold. Single quote. Humph. Shichujima snorted coldly, and threatened coldly, if you dare to learn Ryuchi Cave's Sage Mode, you have to pay the price. To tell you the truth, even Orochimaru, one of the three ninjas, must be respectful when he comes to Ryuchi Cave. Tanjinji added coldly. Stealing Sage Mode. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. After hearing these few words, Uchiha Ryujin came back to his senses, and then glanced at Shikijima Heim, Tanjin Heim, and Tanshin Heim with idiotic eyes. Just kidding, he who owns the system. Do I still need to learn Sage Mode in Ryuchi Cave? Is not it? Faced with Uchiha Ryujin who looked indifferent, Tien Shin Shenji gritted her teeth and said, although I don't know how you sneaked into Ryuchi Cave, but it can't change the fact that you killed Shinya and stole the sage mode of Ryuchi Cave. The White Snake Fairy will not let you go. Advertisement. Shikishimaji took a deep breath, and added coldly, what happened in Ryuchi Cave? You can't hide it from the White Snake Immortal, you are dead. That's right. Tanjin-ji spit out her tongue and said, when you arrive at Ryuchi Cave, don't even think about going out. Ha ha. In the face of the sturdy inner man, Ryuchi Cave high-level Tien Shinshinheim, Ikikishimahime, Tansuhime, Uchiha Ryujin smiled disdainfully, as if they were about to eat people. Give it all to me. Seeing Uchiha Ryujin's disdainful eyes, Shenji Tien Shin looked cold, showing her fangs, and her body suddenly turned into a giant snake, bursting out the terrifying chakra wave. She still doesn't believe it. At the home court of Ryuchi Cave, some people can turn the sky over. Killing him is not over. There are already some giant snakes who can't wait, all showing a violent look. On part of the giant snakes, fairy facial masks appeared, and chakra erupted, apparently entering Ryuchi Cave's unique sage mode. Boom. Boom. In an instant, an extremely violent breath broke out. The natural energy of Ryuchi Cave was turned upside down. For example, Shinki Tienshin, Shikishimaki, Tanjinki have transformed from human forms into giant snakes, opening their hideous mouths. Looking at the countless nauseating giant snakes in front of me. Uchiha Ryujin's eyes showed a hint of indifference, and he couldn't help sighing. In fact, he also wanted to know how strong Conqueror's Haki would be after entering the perfect sage mode, and as a result, a trial product was delivered to the door. The next moment. Advertisement. When countless giant snakes have not yet started. Uchiha Ryujin suddenly exploded with a terrifying pressure that made the space tremble faintly, and it swept out at a speed that could not cover the ears. Click. This is the sound of cracks in the air. Affected by this, the giant snakes who were about to rush up only felt that their hearts trembled, and the giant snake's body was frozen in place. How can it be? How could this momentum be so terrible? As for Tien Shin Shenji, Ikikishima-ji, Tanjin-ji, who rushed to the front, the eyes of the snake suddenly filled with extreme shock. Because, at this moment, the picture of Uchiha Ryujin slaughtering Ryuchi Cave appeared in their minds. Shock, extreme horror. Under such circumstances, Shinki Tienshin, Shikishimaki, and Tansuki only felt that their hearts were trembling crazily. After barely supporting for a few seconds, their minds were completely blank. Puff puff puff. A few seconds later, along with the sound of falling to the ground, countless giant snakes seemed to be stunned and smashed to the ground indiscriminately. Even the high-ranking members of Ryuchi Cave, Tien Shin Shenji, Ikikishima Haim, and Tanjin-ji were all trembling and paralyzed on the ground. Chapter 137. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 138 The Goodwill of the White Snake Immortal, the layout of Sage of Six Paths. Why is he still alone? The momentum is so terrifying and shocking. Soon, after reluctantly regaining his senses, Tien Shin Shinheim, Ikikishimahime, and Tansuhime paralyzed on the ground, sensing the unwilling and constantly trembling snake body, and their expressions were extremely panic and incredible. They didn't expect Fifth Hokage would be so terrifying. After entering Sage mode, it didn't move. It just relied on the coercive force to instantly suppress the many giant snakes in Ryuchi Cave. What terrifying strength is this? And faintly, they also saw the shadow of the White Snake Fairy on Uchiha Ryujin. Boring. He glanced at the shivering Tien Shin Shenji, Shikijima Haim 077, Tanjin Haim, and Uchiha Ryujin nodded gently. After entering Sage mode, his Conqueror's Haki really has another qualitative change. If the previous Conqueror's Haki was just an endless coercion of the spirit, then the current Conqueror's Haki can already touch the human soul in a sense. What, White Snake Fairy, are you still not coming out? At the next moment, Uchiha Ryujin seemed to perceive something and whispered, although you have the horrible invisibility ability that makes people unable to perceive chakra, but. Advertisement. There is nothing to hide under my perception. Boom. After this sentence, a terrifying aura of coercion moved towards a corner of Yin Zili to suppress it. It really deserves to be Fifth Hokage. Accompanied by a white smoke, I saw an orange-yellow pupil, White Snake Sage with a green opal on his chest, holding a pipe quietly in the corner. White Snake Fairy, hurry up and kill this Fifth Hokage that was messing up in Ryuchi Cave. Are you going to be the master for us? At the moment when the White Snake Fairy appeared, Uchiha Ryujin still had no response. But, she was paralyzed on the ground. Tien Shinji, Ikijishima Haim, Tanjin-ji, as if they had seen the savior, made a series of excited voices. Special, after waiting so long, read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Finally waited until the White Snake Immortal. Shut up and listen to these words. The White Snake Immortal looked cold and scolded. Fifth Hokage Zjibo Ryujin is a friend of Ryuchi Cave, how can you be presumptuous? Boom. Before the words were over, A fierce momentum quickly suppressed the paralyzed Tienshin Shinki, Ikikishima Haim, and Tansuki who were lying on the ground. Puchi. Puchi 3 vomiting blood sounded. I saw Shinki Tienshinji, Shikijima-ji, and Tanjin-ji who were paralyzed on the ground, all vomiting a big mouthful of blood. Why is it so? Advertisement. Feeling that my spirit has been hit hard again. Tienshinjin-ji, Ikikishima Haim, and Tansuji who were paralyzed on the ground are really uncomfortable and want to cry. I thought that the boss of Ryuchi Cave, the White Snake Fairy, would be fair for them after they appeared, but the result. The White Snake Fairy suppressed them with a disagreement, so there is something to fight against the snakes. Fifth Hokage, are you satisfied? After cleaning up Tien Shin-shen-ji, Ikikijima Haim, and Tanjin-ji, the White Snake Fairy turned into an elderly grandmother wearing a white gown and looked at Uchiha Ryujin amiably. Very satisfied. Uchiha Ryujin glanced at the White Snake Fairy and smiled very satisfied. The fist is the last word. After he showed unmatched strength, even the White Snake Fairy bowed his head and proactively said that he was a friend of Ryuchi Cave. Your strength is very strong. Took a look at Uchiha Ryujin. Immortal White Snake took his pipe, took a fierce sip, and sighed, I know all of your deeds in the world of ninja, and can only be described in 4 words like horror. After saying this, Fairy White Snake couldn't help showing a look of horror. As the ancestor of Ryuchi Cave, the White Snake Immortal has always been very concerned about the various things that happened in the ninja world. Among them, the 5th Hokage of Konoha village was born, which brightened the eyes of the White Snake Fairy. You know, in addition to Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara in the Sengoku period, Uchiha Ryujin is the 3rd ninja to stand on top of the ninja world. More importantly, Uchiha Ryujin also defeated Senju Hashirama who was released by Toad Sage Impure World Reincarnation. Oh, advertisement. Uchiha Ryujin smiled faintly, and didn't intend to say more. Okay. Looking at Uchiha Ryujin, who seemed to be incapable of oil and salt, the White Snake Immortal pondered for a moment, then said slowly, as a human ninja, your growth has reached a limit. I hope you can break through the confinement of the ninja world. White Snake Fairy, what do you mean? Uchiha Ryujin frowned, and subconsciously said, is it possible that in the world of ninja, he can't break through to the 6th level? Roughly the same. Immortal White Snake nodded solemnly, saying, in the ninja realm, no one can break through to the 6 paths level without the permission of Sage of 6 Paths. Uchiha Madara just understood it by accident. Uchiha Ryujin's eyes condensed, and he nodded suddenly. To be honest, he was a little skeptical before, but now he is completely sure. Ninja was founded by Sage of 6 Paths, so in order to maintain the balance of ninja. Under normal circumstances, Sage of 6 Paths will not allow another 6-level powerhouse. Uchiha 1.3y Madara can evolve Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan into Rinnegan. There is a high probability that Sage of 6 Paths will present another shocking overall situation, one that completely resolves the contradiction between Indra and Ashura and the hidden dangers of Black Zetsu. Recall that in the original work, Sage of 6 Paths appeared as the savior. Using Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto to seal Otsutsuki Kagaya's various behaviors. Uchiha Ryujin is almost certain that the old coin of Sage of 6 Paths is definitely not dead. The existence of Black Zetsu, Sage of 6 Paths must also know that the reason why Black Zetsu is not taken care of, may be to use Black Zetsu to completely solve the ninja world. Some hidden dangers. Chapter 138. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 139. You were an old snake, also worthy. 1 more kneels for subscription. When I think of this, Uchiha Ryujin's brows frowned uncontrollably. No way. If it is really what you imagined, then the situation in the shinobi world may be more severe and cruel than imagined. Seeing Uchiha Ryujin meditating, the White Snake Immortal was very wise not to disturb Uchiha Ryujin, although he did not know how Uchiha Ryujin came to Ryuchi Cave, nor did he know how Uchiha Ryujin learned Sage Mode. But, Uchiha Ryujin is strong enough, that's enough. In a word, the dead snake has no value. For the White Snake Immortal, the snakes in Ryuchi Cave are just tool snakes. If they die, they die. Even if Shinya is killed, it is not worth its fight. More importantly, the 5th Hokage in front of us is more valuable. After a while, Uchiha Ryujin's eyes condensed slightly, and he took a deep breath, saying, White Snake Immortal, what are you trying to say? It's very simple. The eyes of hatred flickered in the pair of snake pupils of the White Snake Immortal, and he said in a deep voice, I want to cooperate with you and subvert the entire ninja realm together. Single quote. After saying this, accompanied by a horrible fairy technique chakra fluctuations. Advertisement. Uchiha Ryujin and the White Snake Fairy appeared in a strange space. Inside. Why? Suddenly entering a strange space, Uchiha Ryujin frowned and said in a low voice. As the Patriarch of Ryuchi Cave, one of the 3 holy places, you don't need to take this risk. Ha ha ha. After hearing these words, the white snake fairy showed a hideous color on his old face, gritted his teeth and said, "Fifth Hokage, you should know Otsutsuki Kagaya, right?" "No." Uchiha Ryujin put his hands on his chest and nodded without hesitation. "Doesn't even Otsutsuki Kagaya know?" The white snake fairy shrank slightly, and an old face showed an unbelievable look. "It just asks casually. But I didn't expect Uchiha Ryujin to know the ancient Otsutsuki Kagaya." Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. But, thinking of Uchiha Ryujin's strange and unpredictable abilities, he was relieved. In the Kagaya era, Ryuchi Cave, Mount Myoboku, Wetbone Forest, are the same names. The next moment, the white snake fairy put down his pipe, spit out a puff of white smoke, and sighed that the ninja world was ruled by Otsutsuki Kagaya at that time. Therefore, I, the great toad sage, and the ninja sage agreed not to participate in the ninja world. Anything. But, the old toad of Mount Myoboku broke his faith and intervened without authorization in the internal fighting of the Otsutsuki clan, resurrected the younger brother of Sage of Six Paths with the fairy talisman, and taught Sage of Six Paths. In the end, Otsutsuki Kagaya was sealed by Otsutsuki Hamura and Otsutsuki Hagoromo, and Sage of Six Paths became the new ruler of the ninja world. The old toad enjoys a higher level than Ryuchi Cave and Wetbone Forest because he is the minister of the dragon. Treatment. Boom. Speaking of which, Fairy White Snake is obviously extremely angry. Advertisement. Even the fairy art chakra on your body burst out uncontrollably, so you want to cooperate with me. Uchiha Ryujin heard the words, touched his chin, and said something subconsciously. In fact, he knew that Toad Sage and Sage of Six Paths had a very close relationship, but he didn't expect that there would be such a mission among the three holy places. No wonder in the shinobi world, Mount Myoboku is the most famous heritage shrine. That's right. Now that the showdown is over, Immortal White Snake doesn't conceal it, and said coldly. I have been forbearing all these years, and now it's time for the old toad to pay for his double-handed behavior. Oh, Uchiha Ryujin nodded thoughtfully, and said, how do you want to cooperate? Very simple. A ray of expectation appeared in the eyes of the white snake fairy, saying, I need human beings as sacrifices, the more the better, you are fifth Hokage, it should be easy to operate, right? Use human beings as sacrifices. And the sudden turn made Uchiha Ryujin stunned, and he didn't seem to react, saying, you mean let me get you some humans to Dragon Land? Cave to be a sacrifice. Yes, that's what it means. The white snake immortal stuck his tongue out and said with a slight aggrieveness. You know, Ryuchi Cave is suppressed. Once I appear in the ninja world, I will be suppressed by the power of the six paths left behind by the Sage of Six Paths in the ninja world. Therefore, as long as you can contribute enough human beings to me as a sacrifice, I can become stronger, so that our two swords are combined, and it is not a good thing to unify the ninja world. Single quote. After saying this, the white snake fairy is looking forward to the scene of the happiness of obtaining a large number of human sacrifices. I understand. Advertisement. Seeing some ecstatic white snake fairies, Uchiha Ryujin shook his head helplessly. What's so special? This white snake immortal has been deliberately laying the groundwork for so long, speaking with high spirits and high hatred, and he can't wait to kill Toad Sage. The result is to let him make more human sacrifices. Is this when he is a fool? To put it bluntly, even if it is cooperation, the white snake immortal can only be his subordinate, rather than sitting on an equal footing. Result. 963 now wants him to make human beings as a sacrifice. It can only be said that the white snake immortal is very stupid and naive, not to mention that he is not a person like Orochimaru or Yakushi Kabuto who can do whatever it takes for his own purposes. As long as you know. Feeling that Uchiha Ryujin is on the set, the white snake immortal hurriedly said, as the basis of our cooperation, I will first ask for 10,000 human sacrifices. Only 10,000 people. Uchiha Ryujin raised his mouth slightly and said with a chuckle. As fifth Hokage, I will get you 100,000 human sacrifices first. What do you think? If it is not enough, you can continue to increase it. 200,000, 300,000 is not a problem. Really? The white snake immortal looked extremely excited, as if he had met a confidant. Dao, fifth Hokage, 300,000 is too much. 100,000 is enough. It is really cool to work with you. Don't worry, one day, we will overthrow Sage of Six Paths, said the creation of Ninja World. It's boring, only 100,000. A hint of sarcasm appeared in Uchiha Ryujin's eyes, and he immediately turned the subject of the conversation, saying, Old lady white snake, you don't take a piss and take pictures of yourself, just you old snake, also worthy of cooperating with me. Chapter 139. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 140 Extinction Ryuchi Cave. Quiet. This space became extremely quiet in an instant. After listening to these words, the old face of the white snake immortal had already begun to twist, and a cold light of extreme astonishment gleamed in the snake's eyes, and it seemed to be on the verge of running away. Did not expect. Fairy white snake really didn't expect. It's acting is so lifelike, so affectionate, and even it is a little excited about it, and it can't wait to start acting right away. The result. Touched heaven, touched. But there is no fascination. Fifth Hokage Uchiha Ryujin makes the white snake fairy's heart feel as uncomfortable as eating shit. Fifth Hokage, do you know what else you say? But. As the ancestor of Ryuchi cave. After taking a deep breath, the old lady white snake still suppressed her anger and said coldly. You killed Shinya and suppressed countless giant snakes in Ryuchi cave. I will not blame for my past, and I have taken the initiative to cooperate with you to overthrow it. Sage of Six Paths is working hard for the rule, don't you feel unmoved at all? Ha ha ha. Looking at the angry white snake fairy, Uchiha Ryujin couldn't help but laughed, disdainfully, the sinister and cunning old white snake lady, it's not that I despise you, you really don't deserve to cooperate with me. To be honest, what you do is like a little ugly. Damn. Upon hearing this sentence. Advertisement. The white snake immortal became completely angry and roared, do you really think you can do whatever you want in Ryuchi cave with your own strength? To tell you the truth, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have spent much time with you. Just kidding, as the ancestor of Ryuchi cave, it has not been slapped like this before. Since Uchiha Ryujin does not know how to promote it and is unwilling to cooperate with the tribute to human beings as sacrifices, it can only explode frantically. The voice hasn't fallen yet. A terrifying fairy technique, chakra, swept out of the white snake fairy, and was affected by this. This strange space began to hum and vibrate. I didn't want to do it, but it's a pity that you want to force me to do it. Looking at the angry white snake fairy. A look of helplessness flashed in Uchiha Ryujin's eyes. Since he was shameless, only his subordinates would see the real chapter, and completely suppress the white snake immortal. Sage mode. Accompanied by a cold drink, Uchiha Ryujin's sage body chakra exploded rapidly, absorbing the natural energy in the space frantically. Don't you know that this space is controlled by me? Seeing this scene, the white snake immortal laughed coldly, trying to control the natural energy in the space to escape from Uchiha Ryujin's body. Unfortunately, read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. The ideal is full, and the reality is very skinny. In less than a few seconds, the cold smile on the white snake's cheek froze, and the snake's eyes were filled with incredible colors. Because, in its perception, the natural energy that is usually controlled by him has been absorbed and integrated by Uchiha Ryujin's body. Ever since, in this situation, the white snake fairy can only watch Uchiha Ryujin's cheeks with a fairy face, and the chakra in the whole body is constantly surging. Natural energy is also bullying and fearing hardship. Advertisement. At this time, perceiving chakra, the majestic fairy technique on his body, Uchiha Ryujin shrugged slightly, and pointedly said, Immortal white snake, you are too weak, and even natural energy knows how to benefit and avoid disadvantages. Stop joking. When the white snake heard this, he was vomiting blood when he was angry. Break it for me. Glancing at the incompetent and furious white snake fairy, Uchiha Ryujin burst out with his own imposing shock wave when he moved his mind. Boom. Fog time. The terrifying conqueror's haki burst out. It was directly in the space controlled by the white snake cactus that a shock wave of earth-shaking momentum was set off, surging violently in all directions. Click. This is the sound of cracks in space, a few seconds later. Before the white snake fairy hadn't reacted yet. Its space full of natural energy appeared very strangely. The cracks visible to the naked eye are obviously about to fall apart. How can it be? Seeing the cracks in the space he created with natural energy was shaken, a stunned color flashed in the eyes of the white snake immortal, and there was a stormy sea in his heart. It knew that Uchiha Ryujin was very powerful, but it didn't expect that it was already so powerful. Boom. At this moment, a roar resounded. The space created by the white snake fairy with natural energy collapsed instantly. And as the space collapsed, the conqueror's haki swept the entire Ryuchi cave unabated. This is. Looking at Uchiha Ryujin and the white snake fairy who suddenly appeared. Advertisement. The Ryuchi cave high-level Tien Shinshinheim, Aikikishima-hime, and Tansuhime, who just got up from the ground, were suppressed again before they were relieved. This time, maybe it's because Uchiha Ryujin has been fully fired. Therefore, almost in an instant, Shinki Tienshin, Shikishimaki, and Tanjinji felt their minds trembling constantly, and their minds were blank, so they collapsed to the ground and passed out. Die to me. At the moment when Tien Shinshenji, Aikikishima-hime, and Tanjinji fainted, Uchiha Ryujin's eyes flashed with a cold color, and he clenched his right fist and hit the air fiercely. Joke. Now that he has torn his face, he doesn't have the habit of being merciful. Shit. Instant time, good for me. A luminous white energy wave swept out and spread to Ryuchi Cave in an instant. Boom. Then a deafening roar resounded. Under the incredible eyes of the White Snake Fairy, Tien Shin Shenji, Aikikiji Mahaim, Tangenji, and countless giant snakes who were stunned by the fainted giant snakes all showed a ray of cracks in their bodies like spider webs. Boom. There were shrill bursts. This is the sound of the explosion of countless snake bodies in Ryuchi Cave, so almost. In less than a minute, countless snakes in Ryuchi Cave were shaken to death. In other words, apart from the White Snake Fairy, the snakes in Ryuchi Cave are almost extinct. Chapter 140. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 141. Complete suppression of the White Snake Immortal. The shock fruit after awakening is really terrifying. Perceiving everything that happened in Ryuchi Cave, Uchiha Ryujin didn't have any changes on the surface, but he couldn't help but exclaimed in his heart. Yes, he just slightly used the power of shock fruit, but in an instant, he exploded countless snakes that had been stunned by Conqueror's Haki. Fifth Hokage. At this time, looking at countless snakes being shattered alive, the White Snake Immortal felt like he was about to collapse, and his heart was dripping with blood. It did not expect Uchiha Ryujin to do nothing. He would cut Ryuchi Cave with his hands, kill it all. Anger. The anger of the White Snake Fairy reached its full value in an instant. Yes, the snakes of Ryuchi Cave are all tool snakes for it, which can be discarded at any time, but this does not mean that others can do whatever they want. Slaughter. Go die. If you can't bear it, you don't need to bear it anymore. What's more, it's an old snake like the White Snake Immortal, who has lived for an unknown period of time. Almost in the blink of an eye, the White Snake Immortal turned into an orange-haired and yellow-eyed white phosphorus snake 153. In the surging of the terrifying fairy art chakra, he drank low sound, sage art white jet technique. A piercing sound rang out. I saw a small scarlet snake holding a bead appeared in Uchiha Ryujin. Right in front of him, he spun a few times strangely. There is no sign. A scalp-numbing sound wave mixed with dazzling white light burst out instantly. Advertisement. Why bother? You are too weak. Although the sight and hearing are blocked by sage art by G technique. But Uchiha Ryujin's observation Haki is not a vegetarian. With eyes closed, armament Haki wraps around his body. Under the blessing of chakra, ignoring the sound waves and white light, he rushes towards the White Snake Immortal. How is it possible? The White Snake Fairy blocked the glare through the snake's cornea, so he can see clearly. Uchiha Ryujin seemed to ignore sage art white agitation technique and violently attacked him. This is really scary. You know, this is sage art, chag, by G technique, it's impossible. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. In the next moment, Uchiha Ryujin, with his eyes closed, appeared right in front of the White Snake Immortal, clenched his fist, and blasted out with a punch under the blessing of chakra, the awakening shock power, and the top armament Haki. Go to hell. Looking at Uchiha Ryujin up close, a cold color flashed through the violent eyes of the White Snake Immortal, who was covered with chakra, and he opened his big mouth suddenly. Unfortunately, the White Snake Immortal obviously underestimated the strength of Uchiha Ryujin with full firepower. Boom. The moment the fist blasted out, the space burst instantly, making a crisp sound, and then, the huge snake body of the White Snake Immortal froze in place, and it exploded directly with the air. What? The fairy White Snake screamed. Advertisement. However, as the ancestor of Ryuchi Cave, even if it was blown up, countless body fragments gathered together in an instant, constantly squirming. In a blink, an intact White Snake Fairy reappeared on the spot. Of course, compared with just now, the breath of the White Snake Fairy who reappeared was obviously weakened, and the pair of snake eyes were filled with extremely shocked expressions. No way. It didn't expect Uchiha Ryujin to have such a terrifying power. Is it still a human being? Regret. It has some regrets. Knowing that Uchiha Ryujin is an evil star, it shouldn't be thinking about bewitching Uchiha Ryujin. Now it's alright, Ryuchi Cave has suffered annihilation. And if you perceive it carefully, you will also find that there are several forces in the White Snake Immortal who are repelling each other. One of them is the White Snake Fairy's own celestial art chakra, and the other two are the power of shock and armament Haki. How can these two forces be so weird? The White Snake Immortal pushes his body with all his strength. Chakra, the fairy magic in the body, found that the power of shock and armament Haki were like maggots of tarsal bones. Fairy White Snake, is it uncomfortable? Seeing this scene, Uchiha Ryujin grinned and said quietly, if you kneel and surrender, I can spare your life, otherwise, at your own risk. Humph. The White Snake Immortal snorted coldly when he heard the words, and his body twisted a few times. Then, under Uchiha Ryujin's stunned expression, the White Snake Immortal actually shed a layer of skin, shed the shock and armament Haki up the body. Snakes are really tenacious. Uchiha Ryujin's eyes moved slightly, and he sighed, saying, White Snake Fairy, I hope you can hold it longer. Advertisement. Okay. Hearing these words, the White Snake Fairy trembled in his heart, and when he was about to say something, he realized that Uchiha Ryujin was violently attacking him again. Dangerous, extremely dangerous, out of Snake's keen sense of danger. The pair of snake pupils of the White Snake Immortal appeared with dignified colors, but they still activated chakra, the fairy technique in the whole body, and flew out. It still doesn't believe it. With the help of his resilience comparable to the body of the six realms, Uchiha Ryujin can't be dragged. Boom 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 boom. In the next instant, a roar sounded loudly, and Uchiha Ryujin and the White Snake Immortal were at war. They were not evenly matched, but the White Snake Immortal was constantly bombarded. Yes, you read it right. The ancestor of Ryuchi Cave, one of the three holy places, the White Snake Immortal, was crushed and beaten. 1 minute and 10 minutes. 30 minutes. Finally, after an hour. The entire Ryuchi Cave is already in a mess, and the natural energy is surging crazily, like a huge wave, constantly rolling. Boom. There was another roar. The White Snake Fairy who had just recovered his body was beaten with a punch again, sneer. A few seconds later, the White Snake Immortal once again grew a new body, but the aura on his body was already quite weak, as if he had received a continuous blow.